Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to BS session number 59. I have nothing witty to say. I'm taking a vacation and I'm going to allow Carlee to do all of the wittiness tonight. You got anything off the top of your head, Carlee, or should I just push the button?
Just push the button.
Okay.
This right here has the ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.
Well, just in case you've stumbled here by accident, this is Ballistically Speaking. I'm Kris. Rooster, he had the lamest excuse in the world, Carlee. He's like, my daughter's getting married tonight. I gotta be
tonight or tomorrow night, because if this is the evening before his daughter's wedding, isn't this when we ask for a favor?
No, actually, I think she got married this afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Because I called him and I was trying to update him on some of the things going on with us and give him some updates. And he's like, can we do this later? I have to get ready and my daughter's getting married in like an hour.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, so congratulations to her and him and whatever. We didn't want him here anyway, did we? Taking up all of our airwaves.
He always complains that we don't let him talk.
Well, in fairness, that's only because we don't let him talk.
That's true. Okay, fine. It's justified. You can have this one, Kurt, this time.
This time.
Your daughter.
For anybody who doesn't know, you are Carlee Kurtalitsa. That's how you pronounce that name.
Yes,
and,
impressive.
Well, I've had some practice in front of the mirror. And you are the COO of Apex Optics. And you're here to talk about a bunch of things. Yes. You've had a lot going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But before we dive into the whole shebang, why don't we pause so that I can pay some bills?
That sounds great. You should do some ad reads.
I should do some ad reads, and you know what? I'm gonna start off with the most important one, the one that without their support, this show would not be able to continue to exist. They are a fantastic company. They're wonderful people. They are absolutely irreplaceable. And I think that they should be knighted or sainted or something. And I am, of course, talking about the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Alberta, home of the, no, I'm joking. I'm talking about Apex Optics. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Find them at apexoptics.co and grab yourself a Rival 4-32 rifle scope and get on the mailing list for more exciting products coming soon, many of which we are going to talk about this very evening. We are also brought to you by the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Alberta, home of the Sterling Arms R18, the shooting sports retail store with indoor range, education and training center, laser engraving, fine firearms, and much, much more, including a new 6-lane throwing bay and the One Shot One Spill Cafe. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, or X, and on their website at theshootingedge.com. We're also brought to you by Odell Engineering. Pick up a Canuck shotgun or Brigera rifle from your local distributor and tell them that Phil sent you. And call sign 66, Canada's best rifle training. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Book a course with them now at callsign66.ca. And Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Order coffee and merchandise at boltactioncoffee.com. Also, this is a lot when I'm doing it by myself. Also, EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta, building Canada's finest precision rifles. Commission a build today at emprifles.ca. Followed by Ribstone Gunsmithing, craftsmanship done right. Contact Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back into any firearm. And last but not least, March Scopes Canada, the Dion Optical Design line of rifle scopes, has a scope for all of your hunting and shooting needs. Find Doug and Nisa at marchscopes.ca. Whew. I think I'm done. I need a cigarette.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we just take over while you step outside?
Carry the show. I'll step out and I'll come back. So Apex Optics, huh?
Yeah.
Never heard of this company before. Why don't you tell me about it?
Okay. Well, we are designed and engineered right here in Calgary, Alberta. We are tested here as well, right in the Canadian Rockies, and manufactured in Japan, which I have now witnessed firsthand, which was really, really cool. So
you got to see them actually making your optics?
we did, actually. So for those of you who don't know or haven't followed all of our things on Instagram and Facebook, Vanya and I took a trip to Japan last week. We just got back on Saturday. And we went and visited not only our factory, but met with the other factories there, which was really cool. But when we were there, they were assembling some of these. So when you're sitting there and you're watching them in a clean room and, you're seeing this on the parts and the orange beauty ring, it was kind of a surreal experience, honestly.
That's cool.
Yeah. Some of it was like, I don't know if you ever watched like How It's Made on Discovery.
Yeah.
But I was like, I kind of wish I had an earbud with her narrating all of this.
With that former swimmer guy, the Canadian Olympic swimmer. That's the guy who narrates that show.
No, it's Lynn Adams.
It used to be some like Canadian Olympic swimmer dude.
Oh, really? Oh, well, no, I don't know. It's this lady, but I was like, oh, that would have been the only thing to make it better. But yeah, we actually watched them assembling, and like they're in the final assembly stages of some of our scopes, which was honestly just absolutely incredible. So
that's cool. And then you were able to bring some of them home with you?
No, we couldn't take anything home with us because they require export permits for everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's not that it's a controlled substance. It's just like for everything they require this.
Yeah, it's just part of their government policies. So, I've just been told the guy you're thinking of is Mark Tewksbury.
Mark Tewksbury. Yep, that's the guy. So, he used to be the How It's Made guy. He had a little bit of a list, but he did a pretty good job. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to find old episodes. But
I didn't know he left. Well, frankly, I didn't know How It's Made was still on the air. We're different generations, you and I, Carlee.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe one of us still watches TV and the other one of us doesn't, I guess.
Yes, I'm the one that still watches TV.
Well, good for you. Don't ever stop.
Thank you. I was actually at an event last night and I'm like, I'm not ashamed to say I have cable.
I am ashamed to say, or I would be ashamed to say that I have cable. I'm not saying that you should be. I'm just saying that I would be. And everybody who has cable is a slave to the system, man. Whatever.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now that I've gone off the deep end, let's talk more about Japan. What cities were you in?
Pardon me?
What cities were you in?
So we flew into Tokyo. For anybody who doesn't know, WestJet has these new direct flights from Calgary to Tokyo on the Dreamliner, which are amazing and makes travel there a whole lot better, which is honestly fantastic. So we flew into Tokyo. We spent a few days in Saitama. We went to Mitsunomiya, and we went up to Suwa City, up in Nagano Prefecture. And then at the very end of the trip, we took a couple of days off, oddly enough. And it was Van's birthday. And so we just took a couple of days in the Fuji Five Lakes area in Mishima. So yeah, we didn't go super far, but
you kind of saw the more northern end of Japan.
A little bit, yeah, of the main island. So we visited and had meetings with high-level guys at every one of the factories, including our current factory for the Rival Edge and Hunter, because we've got so many exciting things coming down the pipe. And to be really honest with you, to be able to meet these people in person and spend time with them in a room collaborating on a project instead of sending things back and forth, I like this, I don't like that, or things getting lost, just not even with a language barrier, just in translation in something like an email, or just having those, passing meetings at SHOT Show so that you can put a face to the name kind of thing. It was incredibly productive to be able just to get to know them and have them get to know us as well. Just for business in general, it was really fantastic.
Your manufacturer doesn't go to SHOT or does?
They do, yeah.
They
But
do? Okay.
I mean, let's be honest, at SHOT Show, everybody's so busy. The meetings that you have are, I mean, max a half an hour or an hour. I mean, unless you set up really special, like specific time for that. So, and really when you're there, you're not able to sit and collaborate on specific products that you want for the future of your company and being like, you know, we actually sat down in a room and had a lineup of scopes, and we're like, okay, like what do we like? Oh, this one's too clicky. This one's not clicky enough. This one sounds like this. This one doesn't. Like, and you know, just figure out the very nitty gritty specifics. Because for those of you who don't know, Van and myself, we're very specific about what we want for our products, and to be able to do that and to do that in collaboration and in real time, I think is the big thing. Not like, okay, well, we'll send you a box of a bunch of samples and you go through them and you kind of think what you like and kind of think what you don't, and let us know and give us feedback. To be able to do that in a room with engineers and, you know, all of these different people who are key players in these manufacturing companies for us to be like, okay, well, this, you could do this, but then there's this trade-off, or do you want this? Do you want that? Here's all the options that you have for this specific feature that you want and why we might do something a certain way versus another. Or Van had, I mean, for those of you who know Van, he has ideas and big ideas that are really amazing, which are going to be so awesome for Apex. And I wish I could talk about some of them and I can't. But they're really exciting. And we talked about a lot of these with manufacturers in Japan. And they're like, oh my God, you're like, this guy's a genius. I'm like, I know. But they were really excited. Like, they were excited to have us with fresh ideas and those kinds of things too. Like, they seemed like they were excited about the optics products that we wanted to make as well. So, well,
this whole Vanya being a genius idea doesn't surprise me. Is he is the one who remembered Mark Tewksbury's name.
Yeah, well, yes. How did you know? That's what texted me to tell me.
That's the litmus test, though.
Yeah. Oh, knowing Mark Tewksbury's name? Yes, definitely.
Well, not specifically Mark Tewksbury's name, but like obscure Canadian hosts who aren't really famous.
Yeah.
That clearly were fired or retired or something, and somebody else, I don't know, whatever. I tried to make something out of this. I can't do it. He's a genius.
He's the guy that ran for office that's an MP now, is it? In Southern Ontario? Or is that a different swimmer?
Did he run for office?
I think so, and I thought he won.
Really?
I thought so. I can't remember. I was pretty sure it was him. Maybe it was somebody else, but it was another Olympian of some kind. Maybe it wasn't Mark Tewksbury. I
don't rightfully know.
Yeah, I can't remember. This was a couple elections ago, and I try to forget. So.
Oh, apparently his name is Adam Van Couverden.
Yes, Adam Van Couverden.
That's not a real name.
And he took, was it Lisa Rate's seat?
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Mike Hynek spelled it Van Couverden like Vancouver. Vanya says it's like Van Couverden.
Yeah, like that change.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody named Van Couverden, that wouldn't be a real name.
Yeah, right.
Why am I? These are the dumbest things that I'm letting us get sidetracked on here. Let's talk more about Japan. Did you guys get to do any sightseeing in Tokyo?
We did. A little bit in Tokyo, not a ton, because we weren't really in Tokyo proper that much. But the first day that we got there Saturday night, and then on Sunday we had a little bit of time to kind of adjust and those kinds of things. But we actually, with the CEO of our factory, we went to a baseball game.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. We went to a Tokyo Giants baseball game. It was so much fun. I mean, the Japanese love baseball. We like baseball. It was a ton of fun. One of their like star players was retiring that night. It was like the last home game of the season, and they had this big emotional presentation. I was just like, sport transcends all, because I'm like, I have no idea what this guy is saying, and I'm crying. I'm like, oh my God. It was a whole thing, but it was so fun. And you know how here we have girls that like at hockey games and stuff, and they've got those big things that are heavy of beer and they go up and down. The beer girls in Tokyo have backpacks with kegs in them, and they've got cups, and they're like filling keg in their backpack.
I've seen those before. Yeah.
awesome.
It seems like a pretty good way to do it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the atmosphere was crazy. It was like going to a European football game.
Yeah.
With the songs they have for their teams and their players. They had an entire section of opposing fans. It was really cool. So
Very cool.
yeah, and it was nice to do something like that too, to, you know, kind of get to know each other a little bit as well, like outside of like a boardroom. So
yeah, neat. Yeah. I don't suppose you got to go see the tombs of the 47 Ronin, did you?
no, not this time. We didn't do it last time either, but we have to go back.
You do have to go. I'm sure you will next time.
Yes.
It's a short little thing, and it's literally like it's right in the middle of this big. Well, I mean, all of Tokyo is a big metropolitan area,
Yes.
but it's this tiny little Shinto shrine in in the middle of the concrete jungle.
There's a lot of those. That doesn't narrow it down.
I know it doesn't, but I mean, you can Google it when you're there. But you walk through the gates of the shrine, and all of a sudden you're in, you're just like in a old shrine, and you're walking along this path. And I don't know how much anybody knows about the actual story, like not the Keanu Reeves story, the real story of the 47 Ronin, but they've preserved a large part of the history of what actually happened at that shrine, because that's the shrine where, after they assassinated, once they got revenge for the killing of their daimyo, that's the shrine where they went, because that's the shrine where their daimyo was buried. And there's as the tale goes, there was a well at the shrine, and they washed the severed head of the guy they assassinated in this well, and the well has been preserved, so it's there. And so you can walk right up to this thing. Like, it's not behind chains or anything. It's just a little well looking thing. And all of the actual tombs are there. They're all beside the daimyo who had to commit seppuku. There's this rock on the ground, like a large rock. And the rock has been preserved because when the daimyo was originally ordered to commit seppuku by the emperor, when he committed seppuku and his head was cut off, his blood sprayed on this rock and on a tree that's right beside the rock. Oh, wow. And so this several 100-year-old tree and this rock have been preserved there. And there's like just the tiniest little bit of staining that you can see on the rock that is supposed to be this guy's actual blood. And you walk up to the shrine, they give you all these burn incense sticks, and you walk around the shrine, and you pay homage to all of the 47 Ronin by lighting a stick of incense and placing it at each one of their graves. It's a bit of a trip. It's really cool, but it's like a half an hour and you've seen everything. It's like, it's not
okay. Well, a lot of the shrines are that way.
So, yeah. What kind of food did you guys eat while you were there?
We ate a lot of Japanese barbecue. We went to a lot of yakiniku restaurants. The only one I think that we really have in Canada is a chain. It's called Gyukaku, which they have all across Japan there. Yep. But the thing that's cool about Gyukaku there is they actually have an all-you-can-eat and an all-you-can-drink option. You have 90 minutes. You pay a flat fee, and it's all you can drink for beer and all you can drink or all you can eat for like a big part of their menu.
That's funny.
But no, it's fantastic. We had a lot of that.
Did you see any Koko Ichiban restaurants while you were there?
No. Well, we had like ramen, and we had soba and sashimi and a whole bunch of other different things. We had shabu shabu one night as well. So we did eat like a variety of Japanese cuisine, but
this is a Japanese curry restaurant.
Oh, okay. Do you mean like the katsu curry, like the pork cutlet that's breaded with the so good.
Yeah. Japanese curry is my favorite now. I make it at home. It's so easy to make.
Yeah, it really is. Like
I don't even do it legit, but like the flavor is there. I make these Clubhouse packets of gravy, and then I get Patak's curry pastes, not the sauces, but they make the paste. I just put 2 spoonfuls of paste in, mix it in, boom, it's 100%. It tastes identical.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
So good. It's
We're
like the
probably
only thing they
using
eat with a fork, too.
Yeah, well, that's not wrong. Yeah. Did you
No,
do
they were
any?
so lazy we could use chopsticks.
did
We're like, of course we do.
I did eat everything with chopsticks, but a lot of the people I was with, they were forking whenever they could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do conveyor belt sushi, or did you do like
No.
the legit expensive sushi?
Well, we went to like just a very traditional Japanese restaurant, and the people that we were with did all of the ordering for us. So it was like, well, it's going to be a surprise of what comes. So
You never went out alone though, hey?
oh, we did. Yeah, we
Oh,
did.
you
a few
did? Okay.
times. So,
Did you
yeah.
get did you get racially profiled?
No, we didn't. But it's funny actually because somebody else asked that as well.
We got racially profiled 3 times.
Really?
Yes.
We never have been, but I don't
we-
know if it's because we're a couple, if that's part of it.
Well, I guess I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but I remember one restaurant we walked into, and as soon as we walked in, they went, "No gaijin, no gaijin."
Wow.
And we were like, "Oh, okay." We just got kicked out because of the color of our skin. That feels kind of
Wow.
neat, actually, because it doesn't happen the rest of my life.
Oh my
And then we walked into another restaurant, and the person goes, "No guy," and then they stop themselves. They go, "No seat, no seat." And we were like, "Okay, no seats, got it."
Yeah.
And then another night we went into a restaurant, and they're scrambling around to find us a table. And near the front of the restaurant, there's this big long table, and we're like, why aren't they just seating us here? They're putting all these little tables together at the very back corner of the restaurant, and it just seemed so weird. And then we sit down in the very back corner of the restaurant, and it's practically empty. And then we realized they put us in the back corner because we were white. And then like all the Japanese folk, they put at the front of the restaurant where the windows were, because they didn't want white people being seen through the windows. Otherwise, I assume nobody else would have come in to eat while we were there.
Oh, wow. I mean, we did have at a couple of restaurants where they were like, I don't have an English menu. And we're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Because like you just use, I think it's Google Lens in the Google Translate app, and you just hover it over everything and everything appears in English. And we're like, yeah, no, it's fine. The waitress comes over and Van's like, yeah, we're going to get this, and this. And she was like, oh, okay. Like at first I think they didn't know what to do with us. And we're like, no, it's fine. We don't need English. Like, we don't need English menu. Like, we'll figure this out. Like, don't worry. And then they were just like, oh, okay. So
we tried to do that as much as we could. We ordered all of our food in Japanese. We had a couple of people with us who were trying to learn Japanese. It was very like we were doing like individual words, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and we're every time we needed to flag down the waiter or waitress, you know, sumimasen, you know, trying to get their attention in Japanese. But it's a trippy place. I think everybody should go to Japan at least once.
It's probably, we've been a lot of places. It's probably our favorite place to go. We were really excited to go back because we were there in 2018 and we hadn't been back since. And then now because of business, we're like, well, we can go now. And now we're thinking, because WestJet has these flights 3 times a week, if we need to go and like hammer out a bunch of product details or something like that, we might just go for a few days.
Just go, yeah.
Which is crazy with the jet lag. It's Friday and I'm hoping today is the last day. Yeah. So
one of the times when you guys go, you have to go to one of the onsen towns.
Oh, so we did that the first time. We went to
you did? Okay.
But this time, when we spent a couple days not in meetings, we went to Mishima and stayed just south of there at an onsen hotel. And if you stay at one of those, you actually just have like a private onsen on the balcony of your room instead.
Yeah.
So
oh, cool. All right.
fun. Yeah, and really nice at kind of like the end of the trip.
So you don't have to worry about the whole Western shyness thing with the public onsens.
That, but you can also rent private ones for like couples or families or things like that.
Yeah.
And also like we don't have any tattoos, so we're allowed in all of the public onsens. So
some of the onsen towns that we were at Kinosaki Onsen. It's kind of like South Japan, but it's on the north side of the island. And within Kinosaki, some of the onsens would allow us in with tattoos and some of them wouldn't. Because I was with a bunch of martial artists. They all had tattoos.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's an interesting culture, you know, and just speaking of like of that, you know, Vanya says it's been a bit of a trend lately in Japan. From what I've heard, a few places got in trouble while we were there. Saw it on the news about denying service to foreigners. Apparently they put some signs out that were offensive, so they got in trouble. I think that's been a big thing with Japan is Japan has always been very Japan first, but it's like at the same time they're a very like in your face polite culture.
Oh, they
so,
are.
so it's like go ahead and discriminate against the foreigners, but if you put a sign out and you make it public, or if you like yell it out in public like foreigners get out or something like that, then you're going to get in trouble. But if you're like, oh, so sorry, no seat, then all of a sudden you'll get away with it, no problem.
Yeah.
It's a cool place. I like Japan.
It is, honestly. I like doing business there too. I really, having spent time at multiple factories and with primarily men, although there are a lot of women in these factories as well, at all different levels in the business. It was just to experience the business culture. It was really good. So definitely a country I'm happy to do business with.
I suppose that's a whole other thing, isn't it? The culture itself is one thing, but Japan's business culture is notorious.
Yeah, so I think the optics industry is outside of that.
Is it?
That was one thing that we were like, okay, well, how much do we dress up? How much do we not? We don't want to be disrespectful, but we're also like, we're from North America. And I mean, Calgary's a pretty casual city when it comes to a lot of business stuff too. Yeah. But the optics industry is very casual compared to what you would know about a typical, like the Japanese company men, as they're defined as. I feel like the optics industry is very different than that. They were a lot more relaxed.
Okay, they were. So. Okay. Well, that's too bad. You'd almost like to experience that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, they were super nice, just like really polite, really welcoming, really kind. Yeah. And we did witness some things at the factory that were super funny. One of the factories we were at, there was this guy, he's like a younger, good-looking guy. He is in like really good physical shape, and all the guys are just giving him the gears. They're like, he took too much time at the bench press machine at the gym, and everyone is getting mad, so he had to go and buy his own for his house. And like they're giving this poor guy the gears, and I was like, men are the same everywhere. I love it. It's so funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I got a real kick out of that. And there's some things like you can just tell from context when like they're just giving each other the gears. It was pretty funny. So
nice.
Yeah, like we're all the same.
John Bergen has asked this question. Johnny has already answered it, but we'll answer it for everybody else. He said, "Why do they have a no tattoo policy or a racial profile of skin in restaurants?" So, I mean, the racial profiling, Japan just has a very long history of being nationalistic, and Japan is also one of the most homogenous cultures. I think it's like Japan and Sweden are like two of the most homogenous cultures in the world, meaning like most of Japan is Japanese people. In fact, Japan has been so nationalistic for so long that their population has been declining for almost a decade now, because to immigrate into Japan is so onerous and difficult because of their nationalism that they don't have a whole lot of immigration. And this trend of Japanese around the world of people having less children, Japan's population has actually been dropping because of that. So they're just an ultra nationalistic society. And a lot of people say that they're probably the most racist society.
Well, there's a lot of mixed marriages now. I can't remember how many, like what the statistic is in Japan, but it's a really rapidly increasing number of how many of the marriages are actually mixed now.
But you know what's interesting about that? You know, I've got a friend who is Filipino. His family came to Canada. His sister went to Japan because she married a Japanese guy. I forget what country they met in, but whatever. But so she's married to a Japanese man. She is not treated Japanese. Like socially, if she's not with him, she's very isolated.
Interesting. I didn't
And
experience any of that. But the tattoo policy.
but living there is
because-
what I mean.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
different. I'm a guest. So, but the tattoo policy is different because I'm pretty sure it's because only gang members use tattoos in Japan. They're not like here where like everybody just gets tattoos.
Yeah,
So,
for a very long time, tattoos were pretty much exclusively Yakuza.
yeah, we're just like, I guess, would a Japanese person come to America and be like, oh my God, everyone's in a gang?
But that's I for a long time apparently that was like that's how they viewed it. Like it's a dirty. It's like 1950s America. Like only dirty hippies and criminals get tattoos, right?
Or like Popeye.
Or unless they were in the Navy, I guess. But I mean, the Navy, like I think to a lot of people, the Navy is seen as like it's different than the other branches too, right?
I have no idea. I don't have tattoos either, so I'm like I can't really speak to it.
Well, I'm only going by what my grandfather told me, who was in the Navy.
Ah, well then. I was like, do you just get bored on a boat and draw on each other? Like
that's apparently it. And he had naval tattoos. So I don't know. It's yeah. Anyway, that's Japan. It's a weird thing. Let's talk about some of the things that you have newly landed from Japan.
Yes. So the first batch of hunters is already out in customers' hands. We are already temporarily sold out because we blew through that inventory so quickly because people wanted them, which is honestly fantastic. An overwhelming and wonderful surprise. But we do have more coming in the coming weeks. Edges will be here in the coming weeks as well, which we're
now this will be the first shipment for edges, right?
Yes, it will. So our first shipment of hunters was a couple weeks ago, and our first shipment of edges will be in a few weeks here as well, or I guess a number of weeks. I should specify a few. So yeah, we have those coming out. We've still got our Summit binos, which I do have a special promo code that's going to be from now until Sunday. So if you're listening tonight or you're listening to the podcast over the weekend because you didn't catch it live, we've got a 10% off code plus free shipping.
Should we give it out now and give it out at the end
of
the show?
Let's give it out a few times in the show. So Speaking BS is the code. So if you want to go to apexoptics.co, any of our Summit binos, you can get 10% off and free shipping from now until Sunday.
Free shipping. Whoa, I can't type.
And so those are our 10 by 42s, our 12 by 50s, and our 12 by 50 pros with that etched ranging reticle in the left diopter.
Does the caps lock matter on the code?
No, it will not be case sensitive.
Okay. So I put it all in caps anyway, and it's
That's
Apex.
Fine. I think people like promo codes in all caps.
Yeah, well, it makes it noticeable, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you guys are offering that for the folks.
Yeah.
So are you expecting the Edge to be as sold out on pre-orders as the Hunter was?
I have a feeling it might be, honestly.
You're not ordering
every
enough?
time, no, I feel like never enough. I mean, that was something we kind of told our factory. We're like, never enough. We never have enough inventory. Like, keep it coming. We're sold out of rivals right now too. Those will be coming as well. We're going to have more rivals. And then there's a rival that has been talked about online. I don't know how it leaked. I don't know who's been talking about it on outdoorsman forums.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me either. So I get all these questions. Is this coming? Is this rumor true? So do you know what it is?
I think that it's the rival in a different optic range. It's not. Okay. No. Okay. Tell us this unsubstantiated rumor, Carlee.
So we are going to be releasing the rival 4-32 by 56 in 10 mils per rev, as opposed to the 15.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, for a second there, I thought you were going to say an MOA. I was like, wow, the pressure got to them and they caved.
No, there's only one, and someone very special has that scope.
That's hilarious.
So we are going to be releasing that. A lot of people are like, why would you do this? Honestly, for some people, it is Yens. For some people, it's a muscle memory thing. It's, for lack of better example, it's very wax on, wax off. You just get used to a very certain muscle memory with what you're doing with your dialing. But you want to switch to our optic because you love what we're doing. You want to be a part of it, all those kinds of things. And so it was just a product that we wanted to be able to offer to our customers. So
That's cool.
Yeah, we always say we're for shooters by shooters, and we really do listen to what shooters are asking. So
Gravy. Now, I have no idea what Zach is talking about. He says, when in doubt, blame me, which I understand that sentiment, but I don't know specifically what we were blaming me about.
it might be a blanket statement.
Or maybe it was in reference to the rumor. I have been proven innocent because I didn't know what the rumor was.
Yeah, I'm like, we've been really trying to figure it out. Madeline, who works with us, has been like trying to figure this out as well. She's like, where did this start? Like, we gotta get to the heart of this. So
you know what I think? I think he who smelt it dealt it. Your leak is right there in the lower left corner of our screen.
From Zach Alphabet.
Yeah, from Zach Alphabet. Zach Alphabet. But props to JR. He just typed out his entire name here.
Or he copy pasted.
Well, yeah, that's possible.
Sorry,
he must have.
I'm sorry.
He must have copy pasted it.
Yeah. So yeah, no, we're really excited. These are coming. I'm really excited about the 1 to 10 because I know a lot of people have one. Couldn't bring it home from the factory we had to wait and they had to ship it to us.
So that's still one of the prototypes you're holding?
It is, yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna come home with this like suitcase full of scopes. And no, I came home with a suitcase of Hello Kitty everything. So
that's hilarious. Before we get too far into the weeds here, I've got a couple of questions that we should answer. So Rob Mackin wants to know, is there anything in the pipeline to rival the rival? I'm assuming he doesn't mean like just other Apex scopes, because the obvious answer there is the Hunter and the Edge, but
yes. How do I answer that? I mean, the rival axes, we're going to call it, will rival the, I guess, rival original. I don't know what to call it. I guess original recipe.
So the X will be the 15 mil per rev?
10.
Or sorry, the 10 mil per rev? Okay.
Numeral 10, right? Yeah. So I think
Roman numerals. That's genius.
Yeah, see? You told me to be witty.
No, that must have been Vanya's idea.
Totally.
It was. It was. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, carry on.
Yeah. So that will definitely rival the rival. We've got a lot of products that are going to be released and launched and announced between now and probably the next 5 years. We have, I don't want to be like, oh, we have a 5-year plan. Like, what is it? Don't die. If you get that reference, we're friends. But
I remember that it's from a movie. I'd have to think about which movie. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, he has a 10-year plan. What is it? Don't die?
Don't die. Yeah.
What movie was that from?
Big Daddy.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was after Adam Sandler was funny.
Didn't love that movie either, but anyways,
okay,
that's an aside. See, this is why we need Kurt to keep us like
he shut up through the whole thing. He would just let us do our thing anyway. So true. Yeah, he's terrible as a nanny.
He's not at a wedding. He's at referee school or something.
He's learning how to assert himself.
Yeah. So we've got exciting products coming down the pipe. We've got some exciting things coming with binoculars. We've got red dots coming out as well. We've got things that we plan to announce at SHOT Show 2024, 2025, 2026. We're already in prototyping and R&D for a number of products. Because he's my husband and I can say it, I do think that he is a little bit of a genius, not an evil genius, but a genius in some ways.
He should be an evil genius, though.
He uses his powers for good.
Like, I don't want to say he's uninteresting. He is interesting, but evil genius it's like a bonus, plus 10 bonus to interestingness.
That's true. That's true. But he has come up with some incredible ideas that the only way I can really talk about it is to say that they're going to change the optics game. Oh, I'll talk about Iwa. Don't worry, PR.
I know there. Oh, wait a minute. Spudman. Is Spudman on here right now? You're putting a digital bubble level in your optic, aren't you?
I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh, nailed it.
Yeah, we're also doing a lot of collaborations with Applied Ballistics.
Oh.
So Van has spent a number of time in engineering meetings with them, working on some really cool things. A lot of our trip to Japan was to meet with manufacturers to see if what we think is possible. And we were told it's possible. And that was incredibly exciting. So I know that is so purposefully vague, but we do have a lot of really exciting things, like I said, coming down the pipe.
You're not resting on your laurels.
No, we're not. We actually already asked SHOT Show for more booth space for future years because we think we're going to be cramped this year with our 20x20. We've got a booth at Iwa this year as well, which we're really excited. I'm actually hoping that we'll maybe have some new Sterling Arms products for that as well, which I think is going to be really exciting. So we're looking forward to going to Germany. We're going to be going to Vegas next weekend. Van is going down with a team to Precision Rifle Expo in Navasota, Texas. What's really exciting about that particular event is that there's the range component as well. So you can actually go and demo our products on the range instead of just looking at them in a tent or a trade show hall. The only thing with that event is it is double booked that weekend because it is the PRS National Rimfire Finale at MKM in Kennerdell, Pennsylvania. So I'm going to be heading there with a separate team.
So
and
you guys are traveling separately now?
We're traveling separately with groups of people. So
oh my goodness. You guys need to be like a third world dictator and get doppelgangers so you can go to different events.
Right? Yeah, people are like, oh, you're going to be going by yourself. And I was like, it's okay. I'm like, I've got guys from our team are going to be there and girls from our team, people from our team. We have so many people who qualified for the National Rimfire Finale, which is absolutely incredible. So I'm going to be able to meet people from across the US that I haven't been able to meet in person before. We were at the Northeast Rimfire Finale a few weeks back. When we got home from Japan, Van stayed at the airport and 2 hours later got on a plane and flew to New Jersey and drove to Pennsylvania for the Northeast Centerfire Finale.
No, that's a haul. That's a ball.
It is, yeah. After being on a 10-hour flight with a 15-hour time change, he went and got on another plane and flew to the other side of the country.
That's pro status right there.
It is. And people are like, why do you keep going to Pennsylvania? We are the Northeast title sponsor for Precision Rifle Series. And, we really believe in what we're doing and we want to get to know the shooters in that area and have them get to know us and know what we're really about. And, we believe in having boots on the ground. And right now, because we are still a smaller company, those boots are our boots. And so that's why we were there. And it was really great to just meet all of these people and really get to know them. So I'm really excited to go to nationals next weekend to be able to do that. So if you're there, come and say hi. I did have a couple people, like I said, ask me like, oh, you're going by yourself. I do have a chaperone. Not really. It's Matt Murphy from our shooting team. He's going to go with me. But yeah, so much of our team will be there too. I won't be able to get into any trouble, which is good. So yeah, no, I think
is this a legitimate concern that like Carlee traveling alone, like next thing you know, she's going to be calling for bail or what?
No, it's fine. I have an attorney on retainer.
I don't know if that's actually better. I mean, I suppose it is. It means you get your bail quicker, but
it is. No, I mean, we do have an attorney on retainer, but that's because we have like intellectual property and contracts and all.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, is this a criminal lawyer you have on retainer?
No, do not have one of those.
Yeah, we were talking about Yakuza earlier.
Yeah, right. No, didn't do any of that in Japan.
That's
the most trouble we got into is we went to a sake tasting. But we did, one of the cool things we did there, and I should say this, we rented a car, and so Van drove in like a right-hand drive vehicle on the left side of the road. Years ago, he'd imported a Toyota MR2 that was right-hand drive, like a JDM vehicle, and so, but you're still driving on like your own side of the road. And then so he flies home, flies out to New Jersey, and then gets in a rental car and is like, It was one of those like airport parking lots that has, you know, you can go every which direction. He's like, I've been driving on another side of the road, and then I'm supposed to be on the right, but this is like a million directions. Like,
there were several times when we Ubered that I was in the passenger seat, which should have been the driver's seat, and like in Tokyo, there are intersections that are seriously messed up.
oh yeah. We didn't drive in Tokyo, thankfully. We drove like kind of more out in the country and in like a
that'd be
smaller
better.
city,
Yeah,
but
yeah. We had drivers multiple times that like they knew all the secrets. You know, we had guys that literally were cutting through underground garages because it was
they know
faster.
all the
Yeah, it's just strange. Like biggest city in the world, right?
Yeah, and it's quiet too. I couldn't get over how quiet it was when we were there for how big of a city it was. The only thing that was loud was groups of tourists. So
that was us.
Yeah, it wasn't us, but yeah.
Yeah. Where did you stay, by the way? Were you like in the heart of Tokyo? Yeah.
So we stayed up by Urawa, which is kind of more in the northern part of Tokyo proper, just inside Saitama Prefecture, which is where our main factory is located. So we stayed there for a couple days, and then we did stay in Tokyo proper, actually in Ginza for a couple days, which everyone's like, ooh, because Ginza's like bougie. But we were right beside Tokyo Station, which is a big reason why we stayed there, because we were going up to Suwa City and Nagano Prefecture. And then from there as well, we were going to be heading out on the Shinkansen to the countryside. So we're like, it's just really kind of nicely located. But we also, now that we have a lay of the land of like where the factories are and those kinds of things, we're like, maybe we would stay different places next time. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. Do you know where the that famous love sculpture is?
No.
It's a very famous sculpture in Japan. It's just the letters love, L and O, and then directly underneath it V and E, and it's like big and red.
I don't know where it is.
Oh, okay. It's pretty much like right central west Japan. I forget which.
Or it's like Shibuya or Shinjuku or something like that. It seems
it's Shibuya and Shinjuku were northwest of that.
Oh, they are okay.
Yeah. So not that far west. But anyway, where we stayed when we were there, it was just two blocks from that sculpture. So I thought maybe if you knew where that was. Anyways, doesn't matter. Here's what's interesting. Van is restructuring the company in chat while we're talking. So number one, he says all about those North African dictator contracts. That's why you have the lawyers on retainer. So that's out in the world now. And can't unring that bell. And JR is calling you a lightweight. If you don't have a solicitor, litigator, and criminal lawyer on retainer, you are a lightweight. I guess.
Well, if I'm in jail, Van's probably with me, so be like, oh shit, call JR.
Yeah, you just rely on his criminal lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure.
And Mike has a great product idea. Speaking of new products, the Rival Dictator, 24 gold optic with silver accents and Swarovski crystals.
Ooh, does it come with a gold chain in the box?
Yes.
With like the Apex logo and a big medallion.
The medallion is in the center of the medallion has to have a conflict diamond, though.
Oh, yeah.
Too soon?
I don't know. I struggle with that, I guess. So, okay, when I got engaged, the number of women, they're like, oh, is it a conflict-free diamond? Because my diamond is conflict-free. And I'm like,
what is it like? No. Is there such a thing as a conflict-free diamond?
I'm not sure, honestly.
It's just a matter of like what
level of conflict.
Exactly. I suppose we do have diamonds in Canada, but I don't think we have a very large percentage of them, do we?
I don't know. And then now there's all the lab created diamonds.
Well, that's the thing. The diamond industry is fucked, Carlee. I mean, we're we've got all these dictators and we're killing people for all these diamonds. And from everything that I read, we make better quality diamonds when we make them synthetically, which is why synthetic made diamonds are what's used as like focusing crystals in all these, like in lasers and shit like that, rather than natural diamonds, because they're better diamonds. Why are we not just use the
I don't know.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Why am I getting angry about diamonds?
I'm not sure. It was the Swarovski crystal thing. Although I think would Swarovski let us have Swarovski crystals on one of our optics without like somehow licensing it, because they too make optics?
What they don't know won't hurt them.
Suppose not.
I'm just saying.
I suppose that's not my, that's different pay grade.
You know what? JR's calling us lightweights, and now he votes for cubic zirconia. Come on, JR, step it up. Let's move on.
Okay.
You guys, Apex, Team Apex, you've been talking a little bit about them already, but you guys have been hitting a lot of competitions and cleaning up a lot of things. Tell us about some of the things you're cleaning up.
Yeah, so like we've got people competing all over North America and across Europe as well. A couple of our team members in Europe have recently been named to their national teams for Centerfire World Championships in Colorado next September, which we're really excited about. 3 members from Team Apex went to the Rimfire World Championships in Italy just this past year. Lily Knapp and Sam Aikenhead were on the American Women's Juniors team. Canada's own Dan Castillo went as well. We were super excited for all of them.
I haven't seen him comment yet. He might not be here tonight.
Maybe he's not. I don't know. I think I might see him next weekend at Nationals. But yeah, so that was really great. The NRL national finale, the NRL 100 national finale, we took 2/3 of the podium with
That's
our
crazy.
team. Yeah, Jeff Scobie and Chris Hoyen won.
Chris was here earlier. I don't know if he still is. Oh, Dan Castillo is here. He was.
They took first, and then Jimmy and Ryan, our other tandem, took third. There was a tiebreaker for it actually. So yeah, we took 2/3 of that podium, which we were really excited about. We have our team members are doing so well in matches all across Canada, all across the US. And like I said, again, in Europe, we're really proud of them, really proud of Team Apex. We have, because I know this is going to be a question that's going to be coming up. Are we accepting new members for next season? We will have a form coming out that you can apply to be a member of Team Apex. So please stay tuned to our email list, our Facebook and our Instagram, like our social media. We'll be putting it out on there, as well as, like I said, again, our email list if you're not already signed up for that. So we actually had a couple of our team members, they're like, how come you're getting emails and I'm not? And it's like, well, you didn't sign up for the email list. They're like, oh, you didn't just sign me up for that? I'm like, no, it's like you have to consent to be on the email list. They're like, I want your email.
There's that whole anti-spam law thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are going to have quite limited spots this year for Team Apex. As you know, we have quite a large team right now. We really made a big push into this year. But we do, of course, invite everybody to apply. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Where does one apply?
For Team Apex?
Yeah.
We'll have a form, an online form. So yeah.
They just go to the website?
Yeah, we'll have a link on our website. We'll send the link out in the emails, as well as we'll put it on our social media feeds, so you can just be able to click and get that. But while we're talking about application forms, I do want to talk about the Canadian Precision Rifle Association, or CAPRA.
No, I don't want to talk about that. Let's move on.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to talk about it anyway.
Okay, go ahead. Talk about
my show now.
I sponsor this bitch. We'll talk about what I want to talk about. Go ahead, CAPRA. Of course we could talk about CAPRA. Yeah. I'm full of shit. Carry on.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with CAPRA, CAPRA is the governing board for precision rifle sports here in Canada. So the IPRF, which is the International Precision Rifle Federation. They are the ones that manage and host the World Championships. So every 2 years, there's a centerfire World Championship. And then in offsetting years, every 2 years, there's a rimfire World Championship. So far, we've had one of each. There was centerfire 2 years ago last year, I guess, in France. Then this year, we had rimfire in Italy. And next year, we're going to have centerfire in Colorado, which we're really excited about. There are a lot more roster spots to fill for centerfire. What I will say is a lot of people have had a lot of questions. They weren't aware of CAPRA because CAPRA does select the team of shooters who does go to represent Canada.
Okay.
Every country has a governing board, and that's who chooses for that country. That's just how the IPRF is set up. So the board consists of myself and 4 other people. We've got Dave Geriani, Ryan McLean, Josh Botha, and we've got Yannick Saboubank as well. So there are the 5 of us. We are from across Canada.
I know one of those names.
No? Oh, well then.
Is it the Ryan McLean that I think it is?
Ryan from MDT, and Josh from MDT as well. So
okay.
Yeah, so I just recently joined this board, wanting to lend a hand and help out because it's a lot of effort and a lot of work to do this. And so I thought, you know what, I'm in the industry, I'm out there, I'm talking to shooters as well. Why not lend a hand? So I've got, a background in fundraising and those kinds of things just from running large scale charity campaigns at enterprise level organizations. So I thought, you know what, I believe in this. I believe in giving shooters, a next level to compete for. And it was just something I was really interested in being a part of. They're a great group of guys, really collaborative, which is great. But right now we have put out an application form that is on the CAPRA Facebook page. We've posted it to a number of different league pages across Canada. It's been shared. It is on the CAPRA Instagram stories as well. And I think the bio link, we're working on a website for CAPRA as we speak. There's just a lot of things to get done. And, we're really kind of just, pulling up our boots and getting it done. There's a lot to do. So we really do appreciate everyone's patience with us. This is something that, has just been kind of growing. There's growing pains for CAPRA. There's growing pains for the IPRF. There's going to be some kind of, some changes happening really from the top down right at the international level that a lot of times people are like, well, what's happening? We don't know. And we're like, well, we're still waiting on information from the international federation before we can publish rule changes or any of those kinds of things. So
you mean there's some organizational changes that they're going
yes.
through? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right from like the top governing international body. So we're waiting for some of those things because I know a lot of you guys probably knew that the Centerfire World Championships were originally slated to be in South Africa in 2024, but they've since changed them to Colorado. So just something like that.
Why'd they do that?
Well, they thought there might be potential conflict there. So, and to be perfectly honest with you, I think having it in the US would be a really good thing. I don't know if anybody watched the Shooter's Mindset podcast, but they went over to Italy and they actually did live coverage from the Rimfire World Championships. And it was really interesting to kind of see what this was like and those kinds of things. And so I think having it in North America, just with the way that the US runs matches, I mean, PRS is such a wonderfully run league. I think that there's just like a lot to learn from the other international governing bodies might be able to just learn for, I mean, this is really the birthplace of these sports. And so being able to kind of show them how we do some of the things, I think will just be helpful for just growing this in general. Really excited just because for Centerfire, the roster is so much bigger because there are more categories of shooters than there are for Rimfire. So I think it's going to be really good. So if you're interested in being a member of Team Canada, if it's something that you really do want to do and you're serious about it, please do apply. We have a form right now that we're looking to just gauge interest of who's out there and who wants to go, because you might be one of the top shooters in the country, but you're just like, no, I don't feel like it. Competing at that level isn't something that everybody wants to do. So, and that's okay. I'm sad if you're like super awesome and don't want to be on the team because it's just not your deal. But we just want to, cast as wide of a net as possible and spread the message far and wide that, it's out there. So, and that there is this opportunity to be able to compete at this level.
Sweet.
Yeah. So that's super exciting.
So basically what you're saying is after nearly an hour of us going through everything that's going on with it, you and Apex, there's just not much happening, hey?
No, not much. I'm not even done.
Please carry on.
Yeah, well, sorry. So I was fortunate enough, like I said, to join the Capper board. I'm still very committed. Part of my passion for the Capper board is my passion of just growing shooting sports and recruiting new people into these sports. I've been talking a lot with Lisa Hurte, who has taken over NRL 22 Canada. I myself am not super familiar with that discipline, but it's growing a ton in Canada. She has been recruiting ROs like crazy. She has so many signed on for next season to be hosting matches across Canada, which I think is great. I love Rimfire. I think it's a ton of fun. I think she'd be a great guest to, really explain this discipline to people as well. So if you guys are interested in any of those things, or you're a match director and you would like to reach out, definitely reach out to Lisa or go to the NRL 22 Canada Facebook page as well, or just DM me if you forget after watching this. But yeah, so she's doing a ton to be really growing this in Canada. A lot of Canadian clubs are actually signing up to have their matches count for PRS points in the States, like with the actual Precision Rifle Series leagues, which is really exciting. That was one of the things that I really noticed when we were down at MCAM Precision in Pennsylvania. I think we posted it, but we took a picture of all the Canadians that were there. Okay. And there were a lot of us. I don't want to say we're invading the States because they're not allowed to say that, but there's
we can do that. We can invade them.
Yeah. Okay. So there are so many of us coming down and winning these matches too, which is really incredible. So
that seems, when I started getting acquainted with the shooting world socially in Canada, I heard people talking a lot about how the American shooters were like next level, and Canada's nice and quaint and all of that, but if you're really serious about shooting, you need to be in the United States. And you hear that about so many other things in conversations with Canada versus the US, but it really kind of seems like in the last number of years that narrative is kind of starting to shift, that and exactly what you're talking about. There's you just listed off a bunch of Canadian Team Apex members that are going into the States, they're competing against the Americans, and they're doing very well or winning a lot of these events. So it makes me wonder if the table is on the other foot, and things are maybe if the shoe is changing and things are different now, and Canada's really coming into its own as a competitive entity.
We are. What's really great, I mean, obviously for a lot of the guys out east, and when I say east, I mean Ontario, they have a lot of matches across the border. They have a lot more matches than we have out west, but they've got a lot of matches across the border that are really close for them to shoot. I know for a lot of the guys across the prairies, they're looking at 5, 6, 12, 22 hours to get to some of these matches. They're not as close for us out here. Hopefully that's going to be changing. I know that some of the leagues already have MDs signed up for matches across the prairies or more in the northern states for next year as well, which is really exciting. We're seeing the sports grow. We're seeing leagues grow. We're seeing a lot of people just reaching out to match directors or people that they know have land or space to be able to do these kinds of things and really try and help grow the sport. We're seeing it really grow at a grassroots level as well. For those of you who aren't familiar, we actually have quite a few father-daughter teams or father-son teams as well on Team Apex. We have a lot of juniors that and they compete as a family, which is really exciting. And so just that is helping us grow the shooting sports as well. Having leagues at different levels of matches where you're not diving into a 2-day PRS Pro Series match as your first match. I mean, you could, Van did, but so not everybody.
We've already established that he's exceptional.
Yeah, and a little crazy, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, you know, we have club level matches now in Canada, and we have a lot of rimfire stuff. I always like to say, you know, like, especially, I mean, if you're 12, I think starting with rimfire is probably a great idea.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we do have some exceptional junior center fire shooters just on Team Apex alone, let alone in North America. But yeah, these shooting sports are growing really quickly. There's, you know, where a lot of I was just watching the guys on Team Apex. They're like, oh, well, there's no 2-day matches this weekend, so I'm just going to drive around and I'll just shoot 2 1-day matches. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you have all these matches so close to you. And we just weren't seeing that here. And now we're starting to see it a lot more. So we got people shooting more. They're getting better. They're going down to see how they stack up against the American shooters. And why not? Or maybe we just didn't have such challenging matches as frequently in Canada, because out west, we just don't, or didn't at least, have a ton of matches. I mean, we've got a few, and they're great matches. They really are, but they're just not every 2 weeks. We just don't have that. So,
but that's really the key, though, isn't it? If you want to be a big fish, and I'm not just talking PRS, not just talking shooting, period. I'm talking about anything competitive. If you want to be the big fish in the small pond and have your ego stroked all the time, then do your own regional events and compete in your own regional territories and have a good time. But I mean, let's not pretend that you're being competitive then. That's a recreational competitiveness.
Yes.
If you want to be competitiveness, you have to be willing to go where the competition is.
Yeah.
And it really seems like the sheer volume of matches that are held in the United States. I mean, the reality is it's not Americans versus Canadians.
No.
It's the fact that they have 10 times the effing population that we
I was going to say, it's population is really what it comes down to. I mean, we just don't have that. Canada is the population of California.
Yeah, well, so, I think we might be still a little under the population, but like we're talking about 40 million versus 340 million.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how many people that country has. So anybody who thinks that, like, if these guys are running these things all the time, it would be ludicrous to think that they're not going to become more polished, more competitive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So to be competitive, you have to go compete to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. And you could be the best shooter up in Canada. And hey, you might even be a better shooter than all the shooters down in the United States. But if you don't compete against them, how do you know? And how do you call yourself the best shooter?
Exactly. Which is why I'm kind of excited about like the world championships and choosing a world championship team, because let's see how we stack up against these other countries. And,
absolutely.
You know,
I like really this idea.
The best of what we have to offer.
Yeah. This whole Capra idea, I think, is a great idea. It's some of the organization that I think has been sorely needed as an organized sport for the shooting industry.
It is. And I think it will give us more legitimacy as a sport and as competitors. And I think that can only be good for shooting sports. And I mean, Capra was one of those things that just kind of had to exist just to be able to send people. And I mean, like I said, we're just past 2 years from the first ever world championship. So, and we've only had one for each discipline. So there's going to be, like, you know, mistakes are going to be made. And, you know, I think people just need to realize, like, we're going to do the best that we can. And it's only going to get better from here. And it's only going to get better year after year. I mean, the amount of feedback that not only the other current board members, but even prior to joining the board, that I received from shooters who had gone to Italy and competed was invaluable. They're like, we learn all of this, and this is what's going to be helpful for future teams to succeed, because they want to see each other and Canadian shooters succeed and things like that. It's going to be this incredible collaborative effort. And like I said, I think it's really great because it's good for shooting sports. It gives it more legitimacy and those kinds of things, and gives those shooters who really want to see how they stack up against the best of the best in the world. I I mean, really, these are our Olympics. So
do you think that it's would be a fair statement to say that PRS in general, at least organizationally, is maybe primed for a little bit of a golden age in the next couple of years?
probably.
Because I mean, if you think about it,
They're growing like crazy.
it
They have new
seems to
ownership
be.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It really does seem to be growing a lot
it has.
more. I mean, it could just be our perception because obviously, like through the podcast, I'm getting closer to it.
Yeah.
You're getting involved. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is. I think that PRS is getting noticed, and I wonder how much. Because if you think about, IPSC, well, they're using the evil handguns. If you think about, things like 3-gun and all that, which I think 3-gun probably had their golden age in like the early 2000s to the mid 10s, maybe even upwards to around the 2015 mark. But like now, like they're getting all banned and all of the governmental horse crap that's going on there. But at least right now, there doesn't seem to be much of a push for anything governmentally that, I mean, everything that they do is to the detriment of every aspect of shooting, but there doesn't seem to be any targeting specifically on anything that has to do with PRS.
Meg limits. What
For
do you
bolt
think?
guns, is that ever even on the table?
If they put in where you could have a 5-round max in a mag, that would put us at an international disadvantage for competition.
Was that ever on the table for bolt guns though?
I think it was.
I thought it was only for semis.
It might have only been for semis, but
and I could be wrong on that too. But I thought that it was.
Thing.
Yeah,
PRS has other categories that we don't necessarily have here in Canada. So the air gun category is growing like crazy. We don't really see a lot of guys competing gas gun up here, if any. So there's, other disciplines within the PRS umbrella that, and a lot of our matches here, we don't have like a mil LE category as well. So,
right.
So that's another thing. But I do think that, yes, PRS is going to be coming into a golden age here. It is one of the fastest growing shooting sports. The only other shooting sport that I feel like is actually starting to get really popular really quickly is like bench rest and F class, which is really exciting. But in terms of these kinds of sports, yeah, PRS is really like where it's going, and to the point where PRS has almost become a bit of a generic term, hasn't it? Like it's kind of the Kleenex of this, right? Like no one.
And then you've got all your subcategories. You got
everything is
Rimfire,
PRS,
you got NRL, you got,
under a different umbrella, which is kind of cool for them as well. And
but with these types of organizational structure starting to get more organized, like Capra, like that'll having different categories like that, like it'll kind of create opportunities to really flesh all that out anyways in Canada. Now I do need to say, because everybody's losing their mind here, JR, Jens and Jonathan have all corrected me. You were correct. It wasn't just for semis. They were at least touting it for all guns. I wasn't aware that made it to the legislative end, but apparently it did. And I'll let you carry on just one quick second here, but Cappy had an interesting comment here. If you're a top half shooter at a national PRS match, you're a very good shooter. No question. The investment to ascend to the higher levels is exponentially higher. I think that's an interesting comment. But also maybe not unique just to PRS. But I think the point being that like there's levels to this shit.
There are levels to this, which is incredibly interesting to me. I don't know if I should call him out by name, but there is a guy on Team Apex who's an awesome shooter. He's a great guy. Was always, like a decent shooter. Spent all last winter dry firing, dry land training, practice drills, all these things. Came out this year and everyone's like, whoa, like where did you come from? But people are doing this. They're putting in the time. We've got this joke out here that all the best shooters in Western Canada are all these farm boys because they've got land to shoot all the time. Well, yes.
Same thing just happened with Yeah. The exact same thing just happened with King of 2 Miles.
Yeah.
You know, the other week we were talking with the winner of King 2 Miles, King of 2 Miles, and that was the whole thing. Like he just, I think he said he started shooting 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Or yeah, not even something like that. Yeah.
We're seeing
Which is
new
weird, hey?
shooters. Yeah, they're new shooters. They're coming out of nowhere, and some of them they're seeing like somebody sends them a podcast episode of something. Like Womfat's podcast is great because he's always boots on the ground at a match, and it gives people an idea of like, okay, what does this even look like? Because I don't want to drive out and go and watch this, and it's gonna be cold or whatever. If I'm not shooting, it's not gonna be very much fun. But they can see it in what it looks like in real time and what the experience at a match would actually be like. And be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. And they're like, okay, this was fun. And if you're anything like me, you're like, I want to get better and I want to get better really quickly. And this is a sport that you actually can get better really quickly. I love PRS and like precision rifle sports because they're equal for men and women. I could take first place and beat all the guys. And it's not like if I went and I faced off against, well, let's say Van, like I'm 5'5", he's 6'2". He's going to beat me in the circle every time because of physiology. But that's not the case with this. That's not the case with this sport. We've got women who will take, top lady, top junior, and first overall. We actually had one of the members of Team Apex do that several times in competition this year. When you're coming out with multiple trophies. And we're seeing people who gave the sport a try a year or two ago, put the time in, and now they've shot up the leaderboard and you're like, where did this person come from? This is amazing. This is crazy. And I mean, we know this is like a gossipy, chatty industry, right? And so everyone's just like, who is this person? Who is that person? Right. And it's amazing. It's amazing to see. Yeah.
Sorry, that was exactly what Luke was saying the other week from King of 2 Miles. We were talking about it off the air, and he was like, man, like, it was so easy this year because like nobody knew who I was, nobody expected shit from me, and all of a sudden I win the whole goddamn thing, and I'm like, I was as surprised as anyone. He said like he was saying like for him the hardest thing next year is going to be the fact that he's not an unknown.
Nope.
That people are going to be, that knowing that people are going to be talking about, oh, there's last year's winner over there, sort of thing. But like to be able to come out of nowhere in an extremely difficult discipline, and take the whole thing, and like you said, anybody can do it. It can be Luke, the skinny little farmhand or farm boy who grew up in the Yukon. Or it could be, Carlee, the 3'7", Saskatchewan German girl, it
Honestly,
could be anybody.
Yeah, it can be anybody's game. And age doesn't matter either. I mean, we're seeing there's juniors in Canada who are going down to the States. Like junior boys are beating grown men. Yeah. Like they're finishing in the top 10 ahead of grown men who've been doing this for a very long time.
Don't you guys have a sponsored teenage girl that won an event a couple of months ago? Like
she got second at Worlds.
It was second at Worlds. Yeah.
And she's the shooter who has gone to several matches and won top lady, top junior, and first overall. She's quite a remarkable young woman. So it's been incredible to watch. But she puts the time in. She practices. She dry fires. She's, I can't imagine the ammo budget for something like that. She shoots both rimfire and centerfire too, right? So, that's a lot of stuff. And but seeing these athletes, honestly, it's really incredible and it's really cool. I mean, I always was like, I always wanted to go to the Olympics. And every time I watch the Olympics, I feel like, it'd be so cool to be an Olympian. And I'm like, what sports are available to me that I could start now at almost 40 and actually do? I'm like, I think my options are like archery, maybe curling, but probably not. And haven't done it before, or like ski. Like what are my choices here? So
there's not a lot of choices at all. Yeah, well, it makes me wonder how. Because it's not like shooting is that easy. Like we're almost talking like it's so easy a beginner can win. Like it's really not.
No.
But
But it's something that you can put the time in and like physiologically at, I'll say my advanced age, I could get good enough that I probably could rise up the leaderboard. I'm not going to do that in beach volleyball. Like
that makes that does make me wonder about Cappy's comment about it, like, because there really are levels to this thing, and it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder when you get into that next layer of the onion. You know, can a beginner do really, really well up until this point?
You will plateau.
You have to, right?
You will plateau, and other shooters will pass you, because you can only be so good at a certain level for so long without doing things to get better. And I mean, Jeff and Kris on our team are a really good example of that. They've been being like really good shooters to really great shooters where they won a national championship. Mm-hmm. But those guys put in the time and practiced and did all those things. For them, it wasn't about like, you know, who has the coolest gear. I mean, we'll joke that we're all gear sluts at the end of the day, but they put in the time. They're listening to podcasts and getting advice and tweaking technique and practicing stages and those kinds of things. And I always go back to, you know, in the movie Cool Runnings, where they're in the hotel room bathtub and they're going over turns as a team.
I was literally about to make a joke because Jens was talking about ski jumping. I was going to make a Jamaican bobsled joke.
Well, okay, I am in Calgary.
Yeah.
I could be ready to go there. I'll do that in my advanced age.
John Candy was the best part of that movie. I don't care what anyone says.
That movie. Yeah, but I like those, you know, those are the things I think about that. There's a lot of dryland training. I watched that, whatever that Netflix golf thing was. And you're watching these golfers in the gym doing dryland training like they're NHL hockey players. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is crazy just how things have just escalated in terms of levels. So I think Cappy's 100% correct. And we're seeing it too. We're seeing it in different disciplines because there's team challenges too, right? Like, our two sets of guys hit the podium as a team. Shooting as a team is entirely different than shooting individually. Not everybody has that capability. That's another part. So I mean, it's crazy. It's going to be great. I am excited to come on this podcast in 2 and 5 years from now and be like, oh my gosh, remember when we totally called it? But no, I think it's really exciting, and
we can do that right now, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you remember when you came on the podcast that one time, like 5 minutes ago, and like we called the future of shooting in this country?
Exactly.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Well, I think too, though, like the PRS community is a big reason why this sport is doing as well as it is and why it's growing as quickly. Of course, there are cliques and things like that, but you're going to get that no matter what you do. Doesn't matter if it's a sport or hobby or what, you're going to experience that. But for the most part, it is inclusive and people are, you know, they're there to have a good time. Like you'll walk down any firing line. That's my favorite part of being in this industry is going to matches and walking and talking to shooters. And they're like, oh, you know, I'm sending money down range. And, you know, like, I'm outside. It's nice. I got snacks.
So all of this begs the question: who's going to be the PRS John Daly?
I don't know.
Now hold on. I'm not advocating that anybody compete in a PRS match drunk. What I am I'm talking about John Daly as how he was a disruptor in golf. Like who's that personality? Who's going to be that personality for PRS? Do you think that person exists right now, or we have yet to see him?
I think there's a few. I think there's.
Who's going to bring it mainstream?
I don't know, but I think it's coming, and I think it's coming quickly. I think that's something I'm really excited about. Just, you know, I mean, Ken Wheeler, who runs PRS, he has fresh ideas. He is excited. He wants to do things and grow things, and he's got innovative ideas for the future as well. So, I think that's going to be good for everybody. It's going to be interesting to see Kris Kemble as that person. See, there you go. You did shoot a match. I saw you.
Well, okay. Here's the biggest difference between me and John Daly, other than the drinking. Well, and the millionaire status. But other than those two things, the biggest difference between me and John Daly is that John Daly won matches.
Okay, but you've only shot one, so.
Yeah, that's true. But I guarantee you, if I shot another one tomorrow, no.
You shot one more than I have, so.
Perhaps, but I
Yes.
haven't won one more than you have.
No, that's true. But you do have more
we're
actual
tied.
shooting experience. Yeah.
And I am. See, he posted it twice. I am kind of talking about that when I talk about the disruptor. You know, I'm talking about the personality that pisses off the status quo and makes everybody who's not already watching want to pay attention to it. You know what I mean? We do
have people that like piss people off at matches.
Yeah, but they're not appealing to that mainstream. You know what I mean?
No, they're definitely not.
Like, John Daly was on, David Letterman, and that's what we need. John, it was nice of Dan to think about me, that I was going to be me. John thinks it'll be Rooster. Let's be honest. I mean, Rooster's too old. You need someone younger.
Hey, how old is he? Because seniors is like 55.
He's not there yet.
Okay,
he's only 51, I think.
He's got kids getting married. Crazy.
Well, 51, he better have kids getting married.
That's true. Yeah. We do have a couple grandpas on Team Apex. So.
Well, maybe Rooster should join Team Apex. You'll have another one. Or within the next couple of years, anyway. Here's an interesting. Jeff says we need to get these matches televised. 100%, I agree. Now, here's what's interesting. So I've been warned when I first joined the podcast and we started doing more YouTube content. I was flat out warned to be careful of going to an event and filming other athletes, trying to do interviews with them, and trying to basically make videos. And so I made videos of the couple of events that I shot. I shot a rimfire event. I shot the Southern Alberta PRS event. And I made a video of both of those, but you notice that both of them are just like little quick clips, like 30 seconds of like, hey, this happened. Here's a 30-second thing of, and a drone shot overhead, before the event started. I was told in no uncertain terms that, like, you don't want to be filming this. You don't want to put a camera in these people's faces. They don't want you watching them. They don't want the blah, 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 blah. And maybe I was lied to. Maybe that was bullshit.
It depends on the shooter.
And there you go. It probably depends on and I think it depends on the promoter, because when the guys, I won't say who, when one of the places that we were at, when they saw me bust out the drone at the beginning of the day, and they saw me putting an action camera on a stick, they came up. They they recognized that we were on the podcast, but they asked them, like, what are your guys' intentions here? And they were basically in no uncertain terms telling us, do not film this event. Do not film people who don't want to be filmed, because they were worried that it was going to affect the number of people that were registering for their event.
Interesting. So I see a few ways around this. The wheels are turning.
Okay.
I do wonder if when I registered our daughter for dance classes, one of the things that I had to sign off on was whether or not, if they took photos or videos of her, if they were allowed to use them on social media or in their promotional materials. And I had the opportunity to opt out when I registered for her. Match directors could do that when you register for a match. You have that opportunity to opt out. Now, yes, Dan is right. Sportsman Channel does cover up the AG Cup on TV, and I have actually watched it. Because I remember when I met Keith Baker from MDT, I was like, I saw him on TV. But for me, having never been to a PRS match at that point, it was like, oh, so this is what you're actually going out and doing. And that's where I see tremendous value in this, in what Jeff said, this needs to be on TV. So when Shooter's Mindset went to Italy and filmed from the World Championships, It was incredibly interesting for a lot of people because they'd never actually seen a rimfire match live before, or a PRS match of any kind, of what it actually looked like. Or somebody like Matt Huey, like Wombat, his YouTube channel, I've had people actually tell me they came out and actually tried PRS because they saw what it was about on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But I'm a big pusher of it because he squads with one of the guys on our team, so we get a lot of like team Apex coverage, so I have to give a big thank you for that. But at the same time, like it's incredible. But that person on his squad could choose to opt out, and he's like, he doesn't want to be in Matt's videos, Matt would be okay with that. But Matt's wife also comes and films a lot of that. She's got a camera on a tripod while she's moving around with another camera. I witnessed this actually when I went to the Northeast Rimfire finale. And to see how certain people are filming content, there were a couple of podcasters there. They were more kind of hanging back. But I think if you ask permission, a lot of times what I'll do is when I shoot a lot of content at a match, I'll send it to a match director after the fact. Because if I'm there and I'm walking the line, I'm taking pictures and I'll be like, well, listen, like the content you're going to get is like Team Apex heavy, but you're just filming kind of content of those kinds of things. And other than the short little, like Instagram reels, or maybe a couple of people's TikTok channel, like TikTok videos of maybe like half a stage, you're not really getting a huge sense of a lot of this. And I think having it televised like another sport is really important. And I think having that coverage from Italy really showed people that. And because I was trying to remember, I was like, oh, what is the match that was actually on? And like Ben said, is the AG Cup. And that was the only time I've ever seen anything like this. I mean, we all watch outdoorsy shows. They have like been watching a lot of Sportsman Channel, a lot of Wild TV. We have a commercial on Wild TV right now that we're really excited about. So those different things. But yeah, there isn't actually anything for this. And I think if people see it, I mean, that's why we have demonstration sports in the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Like how many people have never seen snowboarding before, or even curling or any of those things, right? So to get them into these more eyeballs on it effectively.
In the martial arts world, I've done color commentary and analysis for like provincial championships and things like that before, like actual live analysis. And I would absolutely, like, if somebody came to me tomorrow and they were like, hey, we've got permission at this event. It's sponsored. It's ready to go. It's going to stream live over YouTube or Rumble or whatever the frick. But we need a color commentator. I would be in like a dirty frickin' shirt. I love doing that sort of stuff. And I would love doing that. And I think it would be very valuable for exactly what we're talking about.
So maybe you should go to Worlds and do it from the Canadian perspective. I mean, Van and I were up late into like 2 a.m. watching it live. And I went downstairs to get a glass of water and I'm like, why did you pause it? And he's like, Dan Castillo's on, they're interviewing him. Like, we were so excited. Yeah. But it was like watching the Olympics. We're big Olympic nerds in our house, but it was what it felt like. And it was like, oh my God. And this is our sport. So, I mean, honestly, I think it would be amazing. And like I said, Shooter's Mindset went. I think they are going to AG Cup as well to do this. I think that you guys should take the show on the road and go to some matches and do this. I think if you run it by the MD, it's good. It's good for the sport. It's good for growing the sport. I think honestly, this is a great idea. And I think that you and Kurt should do it.
I completely agree that we should do it. I would love to. Vanya makes a good point. It needs money, people, and high production value for it to resonate on TV.
Well, I just named 3 people. So
all right, that's it. It's live coverage of the AG Cup, sponsored by Apex Optics, featuring Kris and Rooster.
Yes, but honestly, I think it would be really good.
I dare say that a good team, for it to be good, you need a color commentator and you need an analyst.
Yes, and
I think Rooster would be a great analyst. And I dare say, I think I would be a good color commentator.
100%. I mean, I might be in the minority here, but I've watched enough hockey to know that you need a tandem like that.
You do, yeah.
Important.
Yeah. The color commentator has to keep the flow and the has to resonate with the people who are watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
It has to be able to break down the language of the analyst into easy to understand language, and the analyst has to know what the fuck he's watching.
Exactly. So I'm not seeing the problem here. I'm sorry.
I don't see the problem either. This is something we'll talk about this more. There's no point in continuing to talk about this online. I just shut off one of my lights. But I like this idea. I really do like this idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Hey, before we call it quits for the night, I got a link sent to me from a news article shortly before coming on the air. Apparently, I don't know much for details at all because I read this on a news agency, and of course, news agencies don't actually do good at reporting news anymore. But apparently, there has been a reported explosion at a Hornady ammunition manufacturing plant this morning, and I have no other information than that.
I don't either. I think that's
but what
really
the hell
scary.
though? Yeah.
Like, was it a manufacturing accident? Were they targeted by something because it was today?
Well, that's an interesting thing. Like, what a day for that to be a coincidence, hey?
Right? Begs the question. But
it does.
I mean, did somebody just trip over something? And
I hope so. Like, I don't want to get too conspiracy theory guy about it, but it is weird. And it's Friday. Yeah. Not only is it Jihad Day, but it is Friday the 13th on top of that. It's just like they shouldn't have gone to work today.
No. I mean, they're probably behind in production because everyone's like, give me ammo. I sit in front of a reloading press, but yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too, is it obviously has to be within their factory ammo division. Cause I mean, what else would explode? But
I don't know, but that's really scary.
Yeah. I want to know more about it. But I mean, I guess we're at the mercy of these, Dan Castillo says a full moon tonight and a partial solar eclipse tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Mike needs more 6 mil Creed ELD match. Well, it seems like all you have to do is look up because it might be dropping from the sky.
Oh my God. If we are going to talk about reloading, can I plug something really quick?
Okay, do it.
Pun not intended. A guy on our shooting team, his name is Keeson Church. He's an amazing human, and he published this book.
Well, hold on. Let me maximize you. Hold on. There we go. Okay.
It's Long Range Science is his social media handle and his brand, and he created this load development notebook. It is available on Amazon, and it's awesome. It has everything you need for load development, which is really exciting. So he sent us a couple copies of it because he knew that we were developing loads for my new rifle, and so this is awesome. Just something worth picking up. So
very cool. Very cool.
Got to plug the Team Apex stuff.
So Bending is who sent me this link, and he doesn't seem to have a whole lot more information other than apparently one person died.
Oh, geez, that sucks. Yeah. That really sucks.
That really does suck. It makes you wonder, like there must have been something that happened on the line. And if only one person, there must have been an explosion somewhere along the line, and that person was along the line.
Just something malfunctioned, and it was just like bad timing.
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I don't want to make fun of, I should have highlighted this before I saw Bending's comment, but I do think it's funny that Mike says it's bad luck to be superstitious. Too soon, Mike. Too soon.
Seriously. Oh my God.
Okay. Hold on. Bending says, I know it started by a spark from a machine. So it sounds like what we were thinking. It's probably something happened somewhere along the production line. Caught us. There's got to be fail safes for that. Like, how does
I would think so, but
that's crazy.
You never know, right?
Maybe an old guy
died. Like,
yeah.
Oof.
Anyway, hey, can I put you on the spot about something? Sure. You're here representing your company. And there's something like, normally this is the part, like I would just have this banter with Kurt so that it's not to put our guest on the spot, but he's not here right now. there's something that I've been wanting to mention. Sorry, give me a sec here. I'm just going to get this all set up. And so there's a bit of a visual show and tell involved in this.
Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen. Let's share that window right there. So this is a post that was made last week, I think, maybe a week and a half ago on the CCFR page. I screenshot it because it was very interesting to me. So I'm going to read it out to everybody. It says, "Hi, everyone. I want to share my experience and story with Spectre Limited and their recent Crusader Arms Crew 308. I've purchased this rifle at a local gun dealer in Calgary about a month ago, which was quite expensive, blah, 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 blah. And I expected it to be the greatest thing ever. It turned out to be nothing remotely close. In fact, on day 2 of taking it out of the range at approximately 40 rounds through the barrel, the gun exploded in my face, shooting pieces of hot metal through my face and neck area, cutting me in a few places and embedding a piece of receiver in my chin." Now, quick commentary on that. I saw a picture. He posted a picture of himself. He took a little bit of like gunpowder, like even the spot on his chin, it looks like there's a little blood dot, but it's not leaking. You can see a scratch on his neck. It's not what I would call a laceration or
it's
a
not
cut.
like he needed stitches.
Yeah, like this, I've had a gun blow up in my face, unfortunately. My photo looked more dangerous than his photo, and mine was just gunpowder. Okay. Bottom line is this gun's chamber is completely out of SAMI spec. Spent brass grows by nearly 30 thousandths of an inch, which is totally unacceptable. I have measured the spent brass and it's way out of the norm. Now, no photos showing this.
Showing the brass?
Showing the brass, but there are, or like on a caliper or anything, but there are photos of the blown up gun. It says, I've measured the spent brass and it's way out of the norm. I contacted Spectre Limited and was told to send the rifle back to them. A month later, still no response. My suggestion is to stay away from this junk. Now, I'm going to show the photos that he put
shooting
in
factory ammo.
Well, and that was one of the major questions that people had for him. He said he was shooting. He didn't say. I think he said he was shooting. Oh God, now I'm blanking. PMC 223.
Okay.
So he said it was factory PMC 223. So this is the picture of his gun, and yeah, that I'd call that a catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
Like it sure seems likely that the gun blew up.
I don't think they're supposed to bend like that.
No, I don't think the receiver is supposed to bend like that at all.
No.
And my people are already commenting like, Mike, you need to scroll down to the comments to read the actual timeline. And yes, Mike is absolutely right. I am 100% going to do that. I can't do everything at once. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I promise. So this is the other photo that was shared with it. The receiver cracked all the way down here. Now, what I've learned when I had a gun blow up is that guns of this design, they're designed so the explosion will largely channel down the magazine well. And, so again, looking at that magazine, it bowed the receiver a little bit. Obviously, it blew the upper from the lower, cracked the lower a little bit. What little I know about these things, it looks like it blew up the way that it was designed to, or those types of rifles were designed to. Does that make any sense?
Cause more damage to the shooter.
Right.
Like if it was going to fail, it's not going to like blow your face off.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now I need to, okay, how do I scroll up and do this at the same time? Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to share. Because what I like about this, Mike's like, LOL, sorry to steal your thunder. It's all good. It's all good. What I like about this, Steve Goulet, the owner of Spectre Limited, responded to this comment.
Okay.
How could he not? How could he not? So this is a screenshot of Steve's reply. He says, regarding the incident in this Facebook post, Crusader Arms stand behind all of its products and service. It is why we offer customers a lifetime warranty on our products. We take all functionality issues extremely seriously from a safety, reliability, functionality, and customer experience perspective. We are aware of the failure presented to us by this customer, and we are grateful to hear that he is okay. To be completely transparent, we wish to share this with you, the chain of events that are not outlined in this Facebook post by the customer.
Yeah.
The customer reached out to us on September 1, 2023 at 11:05 a.m. He didn't have to get that specific, but I understand why he did. He communicated that he was experiencing, quote, major accuracy problems, reporting groups of 8-inch spread at 100 yards using premium ammunition. I don't know if PMC 223 is premium ammunition, but whatever. He further stated that he consulted with a gunsmith. The result of the conversation determined the headspace was, quote, completely off. Crusader Arms customer service replied to the customer in question on September 1 at 11:12 a.m. That's pretty prompt, advising the said customer, quote, something is definitely wrong with your rifle. Customer service continues to inform the customer that they have a lifetime warranty to provide the shipping address, so a prepaid return shipping label, and I'll give props at prepaid. Okay, awesome. Could be mailed to him so that the rifle could be returned as soon as possible to our shop to identify and fix the problem. On September 1, 11:18 a.m., the customer replied to the email thanking customer service for the prompt reply and voiced displeasure for the inconvenience of using a warranty on a brand new rifle, but that he was hopeful that it would be resolved.
That's what warranties are there for.
That's what they're there for. Exactly. And yeah, of course you're pissed. Okay. First rifle, was it made on a Friday? What happened here? I understand all of that, but
yeah.
You know, it appears as though they're like, holy fuck, what happened? Send us this rifle back immediately.
Yeah.
And at that point, now the argument can be made that, you know, QC, like, how does that make it out the door? I'm completely comfortable with somebody making that argument, but nobody can say that, like, the customer's original claim was like the Spectre told him to go fuck himself. And that doesn't seem like that was the case here.
And emails are binding in court.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So on September 1, 11:45 a.m., customer service replied, relating with the customer's frustration and reassuring the customer that being a Canadian company, service will be taken care of in country and therefore won't be several months to resolve like typical warranty turnabouts abroad. Right. Customer service advised the customer to keep an eye out for the email with the prepaid return shipping label. It would be sent from our department. On September 1, 11:46 a.m., the customer said, great, thanks again. Looking forward to this. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. On September 1, 11:57, Crusader Shipping Department emailed the customer a prepaid label. Okay, so basically it's like we followed through. Okay.
Yeah.
September 1, 4:04 p.m., customer thanked the shipping department and confirmed that he would be shipping the rifle back short. So this all happened in the span of one business day. Okay.
Well, and most of the conversation happened in the span of an hour.
It did. Yes.
Like,
yeah. Exactly. So following this chain of communication, we were under the impression the customer had shipped the rifle back to us. However, on September 5th at 11:03 a.m., everything happens at 11 a.m. We found that the customer, instead of returning the rifle, was determined to be problematic. Okay, whatever. He took the rifle out the following day to shoot it with different factory ammo, PMC 147 grain FMJ. Okay, this I didn't catch the first time I read this. Apparently, Steve is saying that he was shooting different ammo when he was shooting the PMC. So no word on either side what the original ammo was, other than he said it was premium ammo. The customer decided to negligently, he couldn't have been PMC 223. I'm sorry. PMC 147 grain FMJ. I'm an idiot. It's a 308 rifle. It's not a 223 rifle. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. The customer decided to negligently run a test to, quote, confirm the rifle exhibited the same issue as before sending it back. Before sending it back.
Yeah.
Furthermore, says, quote, 3 rounds through, the gun has exploded. The customer states he is dropping off the rifle and its damaged parts this morning to Canada Post for you to examine what, quote, went horribly wrong with it. So if what Steve says here is accurate, and he's putting this in quotes, it seems likely he's got the emails to back this up. Like, the customer just lost the high ground here. Number one, posting on the CCFR about it. The only reason to do that is to try to badmouth the company.
Yes.
Go ahead, get it dealt with. Maybe once it's all dealt with and you have a better idea of what happened, you can talk about it. But the only reason to go on the CCFR is to rant to people and to try to make the company look bad. And like, how can that be seen as anything other than malicious?
Well, it looks like this guy went and like the company was like, yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Yeah.
I need your address. Here's a return label. Send it back to us. We'll figure it out. Sorry for the inconvenience. These things happen. It doesn't matter if it's a gun, if it's a car, if it's a Pez dispenser. This happens.
Yes.
And unfortunately it does, but that's just what happens with manufactured goods. It just is that way. It doesn't sound like the manufacturer asked him to go out and do further testing to troubleshoot this himself. It looks like they requested to have the rifle returned so that they could be the ones to do it, thus taking on the liability themselves should something further happen with rifle.
According to Steve Goulet, they, quote, said to him, something is definitely wrong with your rifle.
If the manufacturer tells you something's wrong, why would you shoot it?
Why would you
put yourself in the potential of harm's way?
And this is the thing that it complicates the whole thing, because I've said multiple times, it will take a lot for me to shit on Canadian manufacturers because of the climate that Canadian manufacturers in the gun industry have to work under.
Yeah,
the
let's
conditions,
not cannibalize ourselves.
Yeah, the conditions that Canadian manufacturers have to work under are absolutely deplorable.
Yeah.
And so I will fully admit that my initial intent or impulse when it comes to Canadian manufacturing is to give them a break, because like, you wouldn't have fuck all if these people weren't standing on the front line and constantly falling on their own sword in front of the government.
Yeah.
But I personally draw the line at releasing products that explode.
Oh, yes.
I do. I just do.
Yeah.
I have all the patience in the world if you did the best with your design and you have a piston snapping issue and you're trying to work on it. I have all the patience in the world if you tried to listen to your customers who were screaming until they were blue in the face about rear pivot or rear takedown pins. And so the next iteration of your MCR has a rear takedown pin. You accidentally made the receiver a little bit too thin and some receivers end up cracking. I have all the patience in the world for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really have patience for, like, you put a product out that catastrophically fails because you can kill someone.
That's the thing. I mean,
However, if you contact that company and they tell you, send it back immediately, there is something wrong with your rifle.
Yeah.
And you take it upon yourself to shoot it again and it blows up in your face, you are a dumbass.
Then you're responsible. The company
You're responsible.
did what they could to try and, for lack of a better term, mitigate that risk. And what's unfortunate is the customer decided to carry on. If a manufacturer told me that something was definitely wrong with something, I'm not going to go fire it again.
Yeah.
That's
insane, right? Like,
there's no benefit to me to do that.
I'll just test it myself, with all of my metallurgical and engineering and physics knowledge. I'm going to go test this myself. What could you possibly have learned from continuing to do that?
With the fact that, like, this company tried to do the right thing, they tried to do right by their customer, and then Now this guy is upset. I mean, rightfully so. I'd be mad if something blew up in my face, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Context is important. And that's kind of what's missing here. I mean, it is really disheartening as a manufacturer if like somebody, like we've had a couple of warranty returns. Please don't go on Facebook and blast us about it if you haven't come to us first.
It's like people don't understand.
I can. Not me, but our warranty tech can.
It's like people don't understand how modern manufacturing works.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things fail. It happens. And
in every industry, in everything that is made on an assembly line.
Yeah, if it's a hairbrush or a Pez dispenser, or I'm looking at all of the things around me.
Like just play the odds, right? Like statistically, it is going to happen.
Yeah. And it sucks. Like, you don't think it's embarrassing for a company? Like, you don't think this manufacturer is embarrassed that they had this customer have this happen to them before, like the inaccuracy issues, like forget the gun blowing up part. I mean, it's embarrassing and you feel like, quite frankly, shitty about it. And you were like, okay, like I want to make this right. I mean, this isn't like, you know, a $50 item. And even if it is, you should still make it right because, you know, if you want to do business the right way, I mean, you're trying to do the best you can. And I feel like they weren't necessarily given the opportunity to even swap. I mean, they probably just would have sent him a new one.
It does seem that way. And I'm sure they would have. I want to finish reading his email just because I want to make sure that both sides of this have that I'm airing both sides fully. So it says, we appreciate all of our customers and hold ourselves to a high standard of quality and safety of our products. It's important for customers who contact our warranty department to follow instructions to return the gun after being told there is, quote, definitely a problem, and not to continue to shoot the gun for their own safety and the safety of others. Seems reasonable. We would assume that this would go unsaid, but under these circumstances, it's important to reiterate that this relates to all firearms on the market. And I would agree with that statement. And
I bet you they'll put that in further customer emails. Do not fire this gun one more time before sending it back to us.
Exactly. Yeah. We have been working diligently to investigate the incident and have it resolved as soon as possible. As many of you can imagine, it's not an easy or a quick process to make these determinations, as many of the circumstances and variables cannot be confirmed 100%. The customer admits to disassembling parts off of the rifle post malfunction. Like, just quit when you're ahead, dude. It already blew up. Leave it the fuck alone and quit contaminating their scene. You know what I mean? Like, let the experts deal with it. And some of the damage on the rifle is not consistent with the description of the events. We are confident that we will be able to get to the bottom of this as we have sent the parts for analysis. In the meantime, we are glad to know the customer's okay. I get that. Yeah, we'd like to further express our appreciation to the community. The support system in a time of manufacturing firearms in the Canadian climate is far less than ideal. Like, obviously, regards Steve Goulet, Chief Executive Officer of Crusader Arms. So there we go. So now I have not had a chance to read all of these comments. There's a few of them, but so
are they nice? No,
they're various. I mean, some telling other very things have happened to them and that sort of stuff. Some people saying that PMC is definitely not premium. Vanya catching on to the fact that I have no idea what caliber I was talking about. It is 308. It was 308. I was going to make a separate video about this. And then I decided, why don't we just talk about it on the live show? Yeah. And then I'm going to splice this out of the live show and put this up on YouTube on its own as my video. And so I when it happened, I never talked about, meaning the gun that blew up in my face. I was testing a new gun on the market, Canadian manufacturer, and the rifle blew up in my face. I think it was after the 6th round. I had no indications of any problems. I didn't have any accuracy issues. It was shooting 1 second, and the next second it had blown up in my face. I did not talk about it publicly for over a year. And the reason that I did not talk about it publicly is because the company, and even now, so I have said the company publicly, I've said which rifle it was, I've said the result of what happened. according to the company's investigation. I'm not saying it right now, just because I don't want to.
And there's no need.
Yeah. I was asked by the owner of the company not to talk about it online. He knew I was a podcaster until it was all settled, and I agreed to that.
I can appreciate that.
And they did a metallurgical analysis. They meaning not in-house. They hired a third-party company to do a full metallurgical analysis on the rifle. They did multiple testings on the rifle, and it was a custom build because the rifle was being marketed as a custom build, meaning like you could use your old parts that were caught up in the ordering council to build our rifle. Here's a receiver set. As it turned out, the buffer spring weight in their testing was only ever done with a mil-spec buffer springs. I used a silent capture buffer spring that put just a couple of ounces less spring pressure than mil-spec. And in the rifle that I had it in previously, that didn't make a difference.
Right.
It did make a difference in this rifle, and it did not allow the bolt to fully lock in place. And this was unknown to the company. And again, this is where I get at it. And I'm always conflicted about these things because I understand that they were trying to get this to market because this specific company had, I don't know exactly how much, probably at least hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million or more dollars in research and development and manufacturing that got wiped out. And they scrambled for about 6 months. I think it was less than 6 months, but they scrambled as quickly as they could to pivot, and they put a new rifle out to market as quickly as they could. And they did not think that there were enough aftermarket parts available for this, that people might be building it with aftermarket parts that weren't mil-spec parts. And they, in their rush, they were like, okay, this should be good to go. You can build it with the rifle that you had to put on the shelf. And that just wasn't true. And on one hand, all things being equal in the world, they would have and should have done enough R&D to test the aftermarket things that were on the market, or maybe even to have the time to think about it and say, only build this with mil-spec parts.
Yeah.
But we don't live in a perfect world. And they were not making this rifle under perfect conditions. They were in fact, I know for a fact
conditions.
Exactly. The owner of this company, when I was speaking with him on the phone, I had difficulty getting him on the phone because the owner of this Canadian rifle manufacturing company had taken a second job after May of 2020 because he could no longer sustain himself just working in that company.
Nobody wants to see that.
Nobody, like, can you imagine? This guy literally was keeping his firearm company afloat by working outside of his own company so that he could keep this. Like, you want to talk about doing it because you love the industry. If you didn't love the industry, he would have folded the firearm company, or he would have moved it to the United States like other Canadian manufacturers did.
But he's like, I've got employees and they have families and I've got all of these other things and people counting on me, and the buck stops with me. And
exactly. And so
shades of entrepreneurship, no one wants to actually see. They only want to see how successful you are.
And absolutely. And maybe being an entrepreneur myself, who has gone through two extremely rough patches, and I had literally had a car drive through my building, a $200,000 insurance claim. And as soon as literally 4 months after I recovered from that, COVID hit. So maybe because of that, I'm inclined to give
You had
other
compassion
people,
and empathy that a lot of people are missing. They just want to go from 0 to 60 and they're just angry and they want to be heard. And if they feel like they need to be heard, the internet's a great place for it. Now,
yeah,
because you've been through this as an entrepreneur with things like that, you are more inclined to give a company the benefit of the doubt. You're more inclined to be compassionate and empathetic and understand that there are more things going on than just this one gun blowing up. There's a whole bunch of other factors involved. It's not just like, yeah, whatever, we're just going to put out a shitty product because we don't care.
yeah.
And
And that seems to be the assumption.
Yeah, but it's not, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I know there are people who do business poorly. They exist everywhere and they're in every industry. But I don't know.
So for me, for at least at the beginning, privately, I was very critical. And it did take me a little while, for my face to stop hurting, for me to really gain a little bit of perspective on it. But that's also why I didn't go ranting in public about it. And in the end, by the way, in the end, they did share their results with me. I know that it was the buffer spring pressure because they told me that was the result of their investigation. And it was not a manufacturing problem. There was nothing wrong in the metallurgical analysis. They weren't out of spec. It wasn't blah, 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 blah. They just didn't account for a variable that if they had more time as a business to be able to do, let's be honest, to be able to do, they probably would have accounted for that variable. And so in the end, I've spoken about it, I think once only on the show. I never did. And I was soured on it. They did send me a completely new rifle that they built, that they tested. I decided not to do a review on it because I didn't want to say anything negative. I didn't want to be the guy who had a negative result for this guy who's already working outside of his business, who, like, I can only imagine the money that these guys, like, this is their livelihood. Their lives are tied up in this shit.
R&D is not cheap, let me assure you.
Fuck, hell yeah.
Like,
I didn't want to be that guy. So I just didn't do a review on the rifle. I quietly sold it and I moved on with my life. And the end result, and I believe to this day, are they responsible for this gun blowing up in my face? I believe so.
yes, because they stipulated that you could use these other parts. And if that was not something that was going to be okay, they should have specified that. They shouldn't have advertised it as a feature, because the feature that they advertised is why the firearm blew up in your face in the first place. And that
could I have been seriously hurt? Yes.
Yes.
Was I? No. I have to take that into context. And I have to also recognize that the integrity of their receiver is why I didn't take more damage.
Well, that
I have to acknowledge that. Right. I have to acknowledge that. And so did I continue on? Did I still own their gun? No, I sold it. Although, have I bought any of their products since? No, but they haven't had a lot of products for me to buy. Have I purchased something from their company? Yes, I bought a barrel from their company. I'm using it on my Sterling Arms R18 right now. The 6.5 Grendel barrel that I bought from that company. So I have supported them since, and I would in the future. And I hope that the OIC gets overturned, because I would love for that rifle they were developing to come back on the market. I would buy it and I would try it. Now, so let's relate this now to the Crusader Arms thing.
Yeah.
Should they be putting out a rifle that potentially, now, if this whole SAMI spec thing hasn't been proven, if it's real, should they be putting out chambers that are out of SAMI spec? Clearly not.
No.
Clearly not.
That's an easy answer.
Yeah. But we have yet to have that confirmed, because the guy was good at putting photos of the rifle and his face up on the internet, but he did not provide photos of the brass and a caliper showing whether they're out of spec or not. And I question why.
I do too, because honestly, like in this industry, in those forums, guys love to post pictures of the minutia of these things.
Exactly.
They really
unless,
do. I mean,
unless they don't have the minutia, that exists.
yeah.
And the story, what this guy said in his post does not jive with what Steve says the emails were.
Which is really disappointing.
Yes.
I mean, if a company told me not to fire a gun, I wouldn't fire it. But that's
that's the other thing, right?
That's just a personal choice that I would have made differently.
Yeah. If I had noticed that, if I had noticed anything that the chamber wasn't whatever, and I had contacted that company and they said, okay, don't shoot it. Well, even if they didn't say don't shoot it anymore. Okay, something's wrong. I'm going to send you a prepaid label. Send it back to me. I'm not going out the next day.
No, the gunsmith that he talked to. Now, here's another factor. The gunsmith that he talked to said this is not right.
Yes. Why would you shoot it after that?
What does the gunsmith think of him going out and firing this again? So he's had not only the manufacturer, but also, I would say, a trusted friend or advisor tell him this is not right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if my gunsmith or any of the gunsmiths I've worked with or know told me don't fire this, I'm not gonna fire it.
And I'm not a gunsmith or a ballistics expert or anything, but from what I understand, 30 thousandths of an inch of headspace out is a pretty significant amount. Mm-hmm. So, like, if a gunsmith tells me that, I'm not going out and shooting it again. It's just, period. End of discussion. So I guess end result, what we have here again is like, are they responsible? Is Crusader Arms ultimately responsible? Okay. If they put a gun out that was out of headspace. Yes, they are responsible for that. But are they responsible for the explosion in this specific example?
No.
They told the guy, like, there's something wrong.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but if they told him something's wrong, now they didn't say something's wrong, don't go back to the range.
But do they have to? Like, God almighty.
Well, you know what? Everywhere I go okay, wait for it. So when we were in Japan, we went up this gondola to this like Fuji panoramic park. So you can go and you can see like the Pacific and the like Mount Fuji in the back and all of these things. And up there, they have these like infinity pools that look really beautiful and you can kind of sit beside them and sit in front of them. And it just gives the whole ambiance. You're up in the trees and nature and it's beautiful. And you see the ocean and you see the mountain and all of this. And there are signs that show a guy like slipping, don't step on this. Don't step in the infinity pool. This like 80-year-old tourist, what does he do? He's walking through the friggin' pool. It's tiled. It's wet tile. They put up those yellow signs, don't walk on wet floor. What in God's name are you thinking? Yeah. He gets on this. He friggin' biffs it, drops 3 feet onto concrete.
Of course.
Smokes his head. Like, just a massive fiasco at the top of this gondola. And I'm looking and I'm like, all I see are signs that say, don't step on here in multiple languages. Yeah. One of which I knew he spoke. Plus pictures are all languages. Sorry. Yeah. But
this is why we have to write, do not eat the silica packet on whatever, we're buying. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with that. I don't think so. One of the major reasons that bothered me about this was because he made this post publicly. That thread was absolutely full of fuck Canadian manufacturers. They're just getting rich off of us and we're getting blown up. These guys are bullshit. Don't buy Canadian made guns. Canadian this, Canadian that, Canadian manufacturers, fuck off. And people listing every single company. They were listing Spectre Ballistics. They were tagging Spectre Ballistics in it to the point that Spectre Ballistics had to reply and say, I'm not Spectre Limited. Like, leave me out of this. I'm not Spectre Limited. But they're talking about
really sad.
I know.
They're talking Taiwan, and now we have people who buy our products because we're a Canadian company. We have rifle builders who love that we are a Canadian optics company so they can do an all Canadian build. And in one post, this guy got all these people to pile on and shit on Canadian companies.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want to manufacture in this country then?
anybody who has not yet purchased a Kodiak, a Spectre Limited MCR, a Crusader Arms, a Lynx, a TNA, a Sterling Arms, or any other iteration of Canadian manufactured semi-automatic rifle in this country, it is going to see that post. And let's face it, most gun owners are on that Facebook group.
Yeah, they are. That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, holy fuck, I shouldn't buy one of those. And this post specifically was about a Crew Arms. Do you think that the average person is going to be like, oh, well, maybe I'll just get a Kodiak. Oh, maybe I'll just get a Sterling. And the people reading through those stories, it had nothing to do with any other manufacturer. But the comments in the thread, every single manufacturer that I saw, every single manufacturer except True North Arms, who really just makes aftermarket parts.
Yeah.
Every single manufacturer from Sterling to Kodiak was mentioned. And it's bullshit. It is simple people eating their own.
Yeah.
For no reason whatsoever. And the naivety and the short-sightedness makes me angry.
Nobody is worse for the Canadian gun industry than Canadian gun owners. I cannot believe how quickly we eat our own. It honestly, it's horrifying. But then we go abroad and to like SHOT Show or EWA, and they're like, oh my God, you guys are taking over. Like a Canadian company. This is amazing. This is great. And I mean, look at the reception of like a company like Trigger Tech as an example. Like, did they throw shade at them in this? Like, I want to make a joke and be like, these comments are savage, but it's only to be clever. But
yes,
I mean,
they're savage arms.
Are they taking like Trigger Tech and all these other companies down in these posts? Like, but
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I had a bad experience with a Benelli once, and so all Italian shotguns suck. Like, get a hold of yourself.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really upset me about it is, this asshole comes in and he shits on Kodiak, but he owns a Remington 700.
Okay.
The copious lawsuits about their triggers. I'll just stick with my trusty Remington 700, right? I've got a Sig Cross, very, very publicly on YouTube. When the Sig Cross first came out, it had a firing issue when you didn't pull the trigger. It could fire just by bumping it. That's Sig Sauer.
Yeah.
And Remington.
They're not new.
Let's talk about the Sig P320. The Canadian military had to stop using it. And every single company has had a rifle that didn't work properly.
Well, what was that company that had all that issue where it was with the brass? I think something was wrong with the brass, and it was like a known issue. And if you had that and you sent in enough of it, they were like, "Oh my God!" and they'd replace every piece you bought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forget who it was. This was last summer that I was talking to people about it. But it happens from a reputable, known company. Sometimes things just happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sucks that this blew up in this guy's face, but
of course. But to all of a sudden be like, oh, all Canadian manufacturing sucks. It's frankly, it's just idiotic. It's idiotic.
Oh, it was Hornady. Thank you. Yeah, they're ELDM bullets. Yes, but they were really good about it. I remember because I was at a Saprol match and somebody was having some issues. And I was like, oh, well, I've been walking the firing line all day and you're the fourth person I've talked to. And this is what our first person, I think it was actually Don Masson who told me. He was like, this is how I contacted them, told them. And they were like, yep, known issue with the 6 mil. And they remedied the situation and they were really good about it.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like, oh, well, all brass out of America sucks and I'm never going to shoot it again and all of that and take everything? No.
Yeah.
Come on.
So now the people who are listening to us who don't have the same view are now going to just call us apologists because I'm a gun YouTuber and I'm sponsored by, I'm sponsored by a company who sells 180 platform rifles,
Yeah.
and you're in the industry. Oh, they're all
Yeah.
your buddies and all this, and frankly, like, again, it's an obtuse position to take.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm also speaking for Rooster when I say okay?
Yeah.
My podcast, meaning me and Rooster, our podcast is sponsored by Apex Optics because we liked Apex Optics. It's we would never be apologists for Apex Optics because they're a sponsor.
And we never ask you to be. We
became a sponsor, we became sponsored by the Shooting Edge, who is, very heavily involved with the Sterling Arms R18, because of our experience when we started reviewing the Sterling Arms R18. No, we would never be apologists for the Sterling Arms R18 because we are sponsored by them. And if this would never happen, but if the Shooting Edge put out a rifle tomorrow that was completely negligent and JR was just like, yeah, fuck you guys, fuck Canada, and my gun blows up, bitches, and all of a sudden was an asshole, then we would no longer be sponsored by them.
No.
These people don't understand. Is it the chicken or the egg? Well, the reality is, the cause and effect is that we are involved in the industry and we associate with the people that we associate with because we believe that they are good people doing good things.
Yes.
Not the other way around.
I think you get into a different world here in that you would not be an apologist, but as somebody in this industry, you are a YouTuber, you review things, and so you're considered an influencer of sorts. And very few people in the world have as little integrity as a social media influencer. I can
true.
say that. It's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. I went to an influencer event last night and somebody said to me, they're like, oh my God, I hate influencers. I was like, me too. I wrote a book about it. And it's true. But you have integrity and you're very selective about the brands that you take sponsorship from and endorse because you have integrity and character and you care about that. Most people out there aren't like that. And I think that might be the disconnect, is that we would hope that other people would be that way. But they're not. So, and
I will say, I completely aired my laundry with the Sterling R18. I had an extraction issue when I first got it. And it was identified as to why it happened. And I put the whole thing in my video. I explained why it happened. I explained how it was fixed. I explained whether the average customer is going to have to worry about it or not. As it turned out, the average customer didn't really have to worry about it. But I was completely upfront about the whole thing. And that was a negative aspect of the review that I did on their rifle. And even after that, I went to them and I was like, hey, I want to work with you. Can we work together?
But sometimes those things are helpful, especially in the industry when you're doing things. I want to know, has somebody else had this extraction issue and how did you fix it? Not, has somebody else had this extraction issue? I hate Sterling Arms. No, those are two totally different statements.
Yep. It was the same thing when I reviewed the Canuck FD12. I love Phil O'Dell. He's my favorite human being in the world. But I still, when I did my takedown, I'm like, this is reverse threaded. Why the hell is this reverse threaded? It's kind of dumb. But if you're taking apart your rifle for the first time, you're not completely, you're not exactly handy with it. You watch the video like, oh, it's reverse threaded. Kind of dumb, but at least I know, right? Yes. Which kind of brings me to the, if we can start to wrap this up. I guess we're almost an hour over time, but
I'm always your longest guest.
I know, right? I think that multiple of our listeners have kind of summed the whole thing up for me. You know, Cappy said it a couple of times. I think Bending has mentioned it. Dan has mentioned it. Jonathan Bergen Mike Heineck has commented on it. Everything breaks.
Yeah.
What matters is how the company that made it responds to it.
Yeah.
All you can hope for is good customer service, and that's what separates a good company from a bad company. And I think really, like, period, end of discussion.
It honestly is. And I mean, at the end of the day, you just like, if the product has been replaced or the company went out of their way to do the best they could and you just hate the product, then just shut up and sell it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And some things are just preference. I know that. I mean, I sell products that are very preference based. When it comes to, you know, features or even glass or those types of things. Some people are so specific with what they prefer, and that's okay. If you just don't love it, you just don't love it. But not loving something doesn't mean that you have to go on the internet and then try and take an entire industry down. If you think of how many people that the Canadian firearms industry actually employs too, like,
yeah,
those are your fellow gun owners and your fellow voters and all of those things too. Nobody's really thinking about the ripple effect and the damage that they're actually doing. People don't realize this is how you put food on the dinner table for your family.
Yeah.
All the people in those comment threads, like, wow, like, thanks for nothing, guys. Honestly, that's horrible. Like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah. And yeah.
What was the statistic? I think it was 2018. The firearms and hunting industry was responsible for $8 billion in the Canadian economy. And here's the thing, practically none of them are like I think even the biggest manufacturers in Canada, like they're not taking vacations and riding around on their yachts.
No.
You know what I mean? And even the ones that do well and the big companies, at any given time, they have millions of dollars on hold because of what they're working in. And they, you know, like, I can't imagine running a business where I've got millions of dollars in products sitting in a sea can locked away that I'm responsible for taking care of still.
Yeah.
Like it's fucked. And people need to have a little bit of understanding, and they need to start working with these companies. Now, do we have to accept that Crew Arms is put out a rifle that was potentially was out of spec and blew up? No,
absolutely not.
And I'd be the first to go to him and say, look, dude, like, that needs to be fixed. Never again. I've had these conversations with Owen from Kodiak about the piston. I keep asking him, hey, you working on a new piston? You working on a new piston? I'm not putting up with that. I had the conversation with Mike from Sterling Arms, and I was like, and I was up front, flat out, hey, I'm having extraction issues.
Yeah.
What's going on here? You know, I had the conversation with True North Arms. Their enhanced upper, they milled it so that you could put an AR-15 dust cover on it, but it was like almost about 0.5 millimeter too long for the dust cover. So there's about a 0.5 millimeter gap. And I was like, guys, what the hell? What gives? Like, what's that about? Have the conversations with them. You don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between that and putting them on blast on social media and let's be honest, trying to ruin them as a company.
Well, and honestly, that is what it really feels like. I mean, I feel for them here because a bad review, nobody remembers 10 good reviews. They remember the one bad review.
Yep.
And I mean, we have had people say things about us online and it's annoying, not just like, oh, put it in MOA. Like funny. I can roll with the punches here. That's not a big deal. But, somebody mentioned something like, oh, like this scope wasn't tracking. And it was it was a whole thing. And it wasn't even their scope. It was a competitor they saw next to them, but their scope themselves had tracking issues. And they realized was a torquing issue. And 5 different brands of scope had the same issue at the same competition and all had the same fix. But nobody bothered to mention that for whatever reason. Just Apex got mentioned. It's like, wow, why?
New kid on the block.
Kick your dog? Wait. Yeah. And it really would, like, you kind of start to wonder that. And so, like, I feel like crew did what they could. They did the best. They're probably like, when they got that email, we're like, oh my God, this guy better send this back. Like, dodged a bullet there. Yeah. And then this happens and they're like, oh my God, like, and they're probably trying to figure out, what are we and aren't we liable for here? Because we told this guy to send it back. And nobody, I would hate if like one of our products hurt somebody. Like, I can't imagine, like, I like, it would gut me. And I feel like probably every other Canadian manufacturer feels the same. And if they don't, well, then they're not good people and you don't want to do business with them. But I mean, I think for the most part, I mean, like, there's no need to just like destroy someone's entire livelihood over something. I mean, I've had misunderstandings with people in the industry, and you sort it out, and you don't sort it out publicly. You deal with your shit, you be a grown-up, and that's that. I mean, why does everybody feel the need to put everything online? Maybe I'm aging myself by saying that. As somebody whose life is, a lot of it is online, there's a lot of things that I'm like, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? And will any good come of this? Like,
so I guess to sum it up, I'll take the last word just because it's my show. So go to hell.
That's my promo code.
Yeah. Let's do that again right now. So first of all, it's apexoptics.co.
Yes.
And get 10% off and free shipping
on all Summit Binos.
On Summit Binos with promo code Speaking BS. There we go. It's going out to the people. Okay, last word on it. I know that the polite thing to do is to give that to your guest. I don't care. The guy who complained on the CCFR page, shame on you. Smarten up. Think about it and smarten up. From one guy who had a gun blow up to another guy who had a gun blow up. Just smarten up. To Steve, dude, if that Sammy spec thing is real, you can't be putting rifles like that into the market. And you work in a shit environment and probably a very thankless job, but man, you can't be putting rifles like that into the market. And I hope that it never happens again. And I dare say I'm pretty sure that they won't. You know, do you want to add on to my last word, and you can have the last word?
For those of you in the comment section that piled on and tried to take the rest of the Canadian industry down, shame on you. You should know better.
Agreed.
Do better.
I was going to say do better, but I didn't want to sound like some woke asshole.
I didn't say educate yourself.
I think I just called you a woke asshole.
Thanks for that. I've been called worse.
Oh, and now that I've insulted my guest, if you're still watching the show, guys, make sure you give it a like. Make sure you give it a thumbs up on the Facebook or whatever you're watching it on the YouTubes. Make sure you check out Apex Optics at apexoptics.co. Make sure you go there, and all the Summit Binos, there are 3 different models to take a look at, and you can get 10% off those Summit Binos by using the code Speaking BS, all one word, and get free shipping to boot. I've got a pair of the 12 power, is that what you call it? 12 power Summit Binos. I friggin' love them. Can't wait to use them hunting this year. And they're amazing optics, and to get 10% off of them, hey, do it, because I paid full price and they're sponsoring me. So
I drew hearts on the shipping box.
You did, and it was I thought your daughters drew hearts on the shipping box. Was it you? Oh, I felt wanted when like I felt liked when I thought that your children were doing it. Okay, well, that's okay. I still feel special. Anyway, you can find us on bspodcast.ca. If you'd like to send us an email, it's info@bspodcast.ca. And we are on facebook.com/BS podcast and youtube.com/@BS podcast, I think. Or are we at Ballistically Speaking? I think we're at Ballistically Speaking. Oh, whatever. Just do a search for us on the YouTube. Anyway, we'd like to close by saying a massive thank you to all of our listeners and all of our sponsors. Without you guys, well, tonight it would have just been me talking to myself for 2.5 hours. So we're talking about Shane and Steve, Miles, Carrie and Cappy, Duncan and Rob, Phil Odell, Doug and Niza, Vanya and Carlee, Oscar and JR. Thank you all in a measurable amount, guys. Thanks for joining us. And Carlee, thank you for coming on. It's always great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what's this? Jonathan, that box is on top of Chris's trophy shelf. I don't know what Jonathan's talking about.
I don't know.
That box is on. Okay, doesn't matter. Hey, tune in for the next show because we will have more. Carlee, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you at SHOT Show.
Yeah.
And hopefully other people too. All right.
Yeah.
Good night.
Because I have a shotgun and rifle that I use for, and 22 gauge that I use for ptarmigan, moose, and black bear.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS. Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.